Chapter 2306. Therefore, Young Ming came up with such an extremely insidious plan. He would let Dr. Benjamin's people come out of the central base and kill them one by one, so that their people would not be able to return. Since they had made up their minds, Young Ming and Dong Jun were not in a hurry. They slept comfortably. Early the next morning, they leisurely drove to the Las Vegas Beach Pier, and then waited for the people sent by Dr. Benjamin. It was the same seaside food stall as before. After Young Ming and Dong Jun sat down, they ordered some snacks and drinks, and then began to eat comfortably like two tourists. Young Ming, sometimes I feel like we are two foodies. It seems that we eat all the time. We eat every day. Even if we are working, we are very carefree. Dong Jun said while eating the chicken leg in his hand. Hee, I guess there is no more leisurely job than you and I are now. Young Ming said with a smile, sitting here, eating, and looking at the sea view. I guess we can only have this kind of life after we retire. You are open-minded, but as long as the matter between Dr. Benjamin and the Central is not solved, I can't rest assured. Dong Jun said with a sigh. Hee, in fact, it's okay to be open-minded. It can be solved sooner or later. It's just a matter of time. Young Ming said. He was still very confident in solving Dr. Benjamin's matter. After all, Young Ming had the experience of fighting with Elder Yu and the ancient sects before, so he was full of confidence. No matter how powerful Dr. Benjamin and the Central were, it was impossible for them to be more powerful than Elder Yu and those ancient sections. It was just that there were some unknown things that made Young Ming afraid. Moreover, the Central was different from the ancient sections. There was no deep hatred between the ancient sects and Young Ming. It was impossible for them to have a life and death fight with Young Ming, and then kill 800 of the enemy at the cost of 1,000 of their own lives. No one in the ancient sects would do this. After all, they couldn't kill Young Ming, and Young Ming could kill the disciples in their sects at any time. In this way, it was enough to make them stay in peace. However, Young Ming didn't know if he could resolve the conflict with Dr. Benjamin. Even if the conflict was resolved, having such a powerful enemy always thinking about you would make Young Ming unable to sleep and eat in peace in the future. As long as Dr. Benjamin thought about Young Ming's ability, he would always have a chance to find trouble with Young Ming. Even if he couldn't do it now, he would find a chance to do it in the future. He wouldn't be like the Grand Elder of the ancient sects, who didn't do anything when he knew that it was impossible. Moreover, when Wan gave birth to the child, even if she wanted to regret, she could only pinch her nose and accept it. Even if she was more powerful than Young Ming, she could only complain to Wan Young Ming really didn't believe that she dared to kill Chu Pingzhan and his child. After all, Young Ming wasn't someone to be trifled with. If something happened to the people he wanted to protect, he would definitely not let it go easily. The most important point was that the Grand Elder and Young Ming didn't have a big conflict of interest, and she cared a lot about the disciples under her. However, Dr. Benjamin was different. In order to test whether Young Ming and Dong Jun were targeting him, Dr. Benjamin sent another subordinate from the Central to die. This showed that Dr. Benjamin was a ruthless person who didn't care about the lives of his subordinates. This could be seen from his attitude towards people like Dong Jun who betrayed the Central. I hope so, Dong Jun nodded. Right, how is it? Has Dr. Benjamin's people set off? They just set off. The speedboat this time is different from the last one. It's a colorful speedboat. The person driving the speedboat also has a weird hairstyle, earrings, and colorful beach clothes. He looks like a fashionable beach tourist. Young Ming said, this kind of person, if we didn't know in advance that he was from the Central, it would be difficult to connect him with the Central people. Oh. It can't be. Dr. Benjamin has learned to be smart this time. Dong Jun frowned and said, it seems that this time, he really wanted to give us a difficult problem, but you saw through it in advance. I guess Dr. Benjamin will cry to death when he knows about it, right? Hee, let him cry to death then. Yang Ming smiled. This is just the beginning. If he can cry to death, he will really cry in the future. That's right. What should we do later? What should we do? Asked Dong Jun. You don't have to do anything later. Just watch me. I will let that person die without knowing why. Yang Ming said faintly. When his speedboat is about to dock, you will pay the bill, and then we will leave. I will kill him secretly. Dong Jun was stunned and said, kill him here. Yeah, why should we wait for him to go somewhere else? Yang Ming said with a smile, Dr. Benjamin has installed a lot of monitors, bugs, and satellite positioning systems on him. If we are too close, we will inevitably be photographed. Even if our current appearance is disguised, it is best not to expose it easily and let Dr. Benjamin know. I understand, but killing him here, won't it cause any chaos? This is the dock. Dong Jun said, moreover, when you kill him, how can you guarantee that you will not be photographed by Dr. Benjamin's monitors? Hee, don't forget what my old profession is. It is really easy to assassinate such a small character. Yang Ming smiled calmly. Yeah, I forgot. You're too powerful now. After joining the Supernatural Investigation Bureau, you can even kill a figure like Elder Yu. I can't help but forget that you're the successor of the King of Assassins. Dong Jun said with a wry smile, I know our master's ability. You have surpassed him. You finally remember. Yang Ming said with a smile, so, you can rest assured and leave it to me. Okay, then it's settled. I will leave it all to you. I won't care about anything else. Dong Jun nodded and said. After the two planned their actions, they began to eat leisurely. Dong Jun and Yang Ming didn't come here every day. This was the second time they came here. The boss and the waiter had long forgotten that these two people were regular customers. This dock was a place with a considerable amount of traffic. Yang Ming and Dong Jun had changed into different clothes. It would be strange if they could recognize them. It was not surprising that many people like Yang Ming and Dong Jun came here in the morning and ate until noon. You can settle the bill. Yang Ming saw that Dr. Benjamin's speedboat had entered the normal line of sight, and then said to Dong Jun. Chapter 2307. Dong Jun knew that Yang Ming was going to take action. He nodded, then stood up and asked the waiter to pay the bill. He and Yang Ming pretended to be guests who had just finished their meal and slowly walked to the dock. At this time, a colorful speedboat was speeding over. Yang Ming's position was in a blind spot. No matter where the speedboat's camera was installed, it was impossible to capture Yang Ming and Dong Jun at this moment. The reason why Yang Ming could see the speedboat was naturally because of his X-ray vision. Without this ability, Yang Ming naturally would not be so confident in killing the central person without being discovered by Dr. Benjamin. Yang Ming and the person on the speedboat were actually not far in a straight line, but Yang Ming was standing behind a large billboard at the moment. Yang Ming's eyes did not seem to be on the speedboat, but on the stalls selling seafood under the billboard. Yang Ming's hand seemed to be casually waving, but no one noticed that a flying needle had been launched from Yang Ming's hand. It was like a sharp sword that directly penetrated the heart of the person on the speedboat. The flying needle was the kind of special flying needle that Zhang Zhishan made for Yang Ming. After it entered the human body, it would be melted by the blood. There was no clue at all. Even if Dr. Benjamin took it back to study it, he would not find anything. Dong Jun knew that Yang Ming would kill the central person on his own, so at this moment, he was very cooperative and bought a few small things from the seafood stall. When Yang Ming stood up, Dong Jun knew that Yang Ming had finished. The two people took the seafood they bought and left here without looking back. The central person was still on the speedboat. The speedboat had not docked and was just on the shore. He died on the speedboat, and no one found out at this moment. It was estimated that when he was found, Yang Ming and Dong Jun would have already left here. Yang Ming and Dong Jun went around and came to a nearby parking lot far away. They got in the car and drove straight to the motel where they had stayed before. "Did you kill it?" Dong Jun asked after getting in the car. "Yes." Yang Ming nodded. "So fast, so nimble." Dong Jun gave a thumbs up. He didn't even know when or how Yang Ming made his move. It was as if Yang Ming had been standing beside him all along, but Yang Ming had inadvertently completed an assassination. "It's all right." Yang Ming said, "Our current faces can still be used a few more times, but after a long time, we still have to change. After all, if we are at the scene of every murder, the local police will probably be suspicious. In order not to cause unnecessary trouble, we'd better be careful." "That is true." Dong Jun nodded and said, "But there's a limit to my ability to disguise myself. After all, my appearance is right there. Even if I disguise myself as someone else, it's still the same. I'm afraid that if this happens too many times, people will still suspect me." "That's fine. It's fine as long as I'm different. Although we are always two people, if I'm different from the previous person every time, then no one will doubt you. If it doesn't work, I can disguise as a woman," said Yang Ming. "Ha, yes, I forgot that your disguise is completely based on your imagination. You can change into whatever you want." Dong Jun thought of Yang Ming's special ability and nodded. Sure enough, as Yang Ming expected, he and Dong Jun had left for 10 minutes before someone realized that something was wrong. It was because the boat of the people in the center was not docked in the water on the shore of the dock. Because no other speedboats passed by before, no one noticed, but now there were other speedboats passing by, and the speedboat of the people in the center was blocking the passage. Naturally, someone noticed that something was wrong. When the dock administrator shouted loudly, asking him to drive the speedboat to the shore or leave, the administrator also found that something was wrong, so he sent someone to drive the boat closer. As a result, he found that the people in the center had died on the speedboat. So, some people called the police, some screamed. On the distant Fire Wolf Island, Dr. Benjamin looked at the surveillance picture sent on the screen with a gloomy face. He never thought that his people would die before they went ashore. Previously, he wondered why the speedboat did not go ashore but stopped at sea not far from the dock. Dr. Benjamin thought that something had happened. This was because the automatic navigation program of the speedboat could only navigate to the vicinity of the dock. It was impossible to automatically stop the boat to the position of the vacant speedboat. This step could only be done by the driver himself. So, until someone shouted that the people on the speedboat were dead, Dr. Benjamin was shocked. It turned out that his people were dead. This situation made him shocked and angry. He did not even notice when the people died. Of course, the bodies of his own people would definitely not fall into the hands of the police. Not to mention the devices on the speedboat, even Dr. Benjamin himself wanted to figure out how his people died. So, while those people went ashore to call the police, he activated the automatic return function of the speedboat. So, the speedboat quickly returned to the central base, Fire Wolf Island, at a very fast speed. The administrator on the shore was afraid of destroying the murder scene, so after seeing that the people on the speedboat were dead, he did not touch it again. He wanted to wait for the police to deal with it, but he did not expect that the speedboat would start automatically and fly to the depths of the sea. By the time the police came here, the speedboat had already disappeared without a trace. The local police came here to investigate and collect evidence. Then, they contacted a helicopter to track the speedboat at sea. It was already a long time later, and the speedboat had already returned to the central base. However, when Yang Ming watched the news that night, he also found a problem. He did not expect Dr. Benjamin to do this and bring the bodies back. However, this way, the local police would pay more attention to this case. This also reminded Yang Ming that when he assassinated the people in the central base in the future, he should try to wait for the people in the central base to come ashore and kill them in a less crowded place. If Dr. Benjamin brought people back every time, it would not take long for this dock to be monitored. At that time, it would be very difficult for Yang Ming to do it again. Of course, the reason why Dr. Benjamin took the risk to bring back the bodies of his own people was that he wanted to see how his people died. Otherwise, he could have activated the speedboat self-destruct device and created an explosion, blowing up the speedboat and the corpses of his own people. At that time, it would look like he was destroying the corpses, and it wouldn't have attracted so much trouble. Chapter 2308. However, Dr. Benjamin was very puzzled. His people had not yet come ashore. How could they be targeted and killed? This was too unrealistic. If his people were seen through by Yang Ming and Dong Jun last time, it was understandable. After all, the two people he sent last time did not look like tourists in terms of clothing or temperament. However, this time was different. The people he sent this time were completely like tourists who were relaxing by the sea, and the speedboat was also like the colorful yacht of tourists. Not to mention Yang Ming and Dong Jun, even if Benjamin saw it himself, he wouldn't think that this person was from Central. However, he was recognized and killed before he could even reach the shore. Wasn't this a little too fast? Never in his wildest dreams would Dr. Benjamin have thought that the disguise that he and Old Scorpion had carefully planned would end so quickly. Therefore, he would rather take the risk of being targeted by the police and get the speedboat back. He wanted to see how this person died. Moreover, the surveillance video that Dr. Benjamin saw now was only the real-time image transmitted by the speedboat's camera. He could not see the image recorded by the camera on his own people. After all, these cameras did not have such a long-range wireless transmission function. Soon, the speedboat returned to the central base, and the body of his own people was sent to Dr. Benjamin by Old Mule. Xiao Yin, Xiao Leng, the two of you dissect the body and find the cause of death, Dr. Benjamin said to his two students. Benjamin and his students were originally studying human biochemistry, so they were naturally familiar with dissecting corpses. Soon, the body of one of their own was dissected into pieces, but the conclusion was that the heart had stopped beating, leading to death. However, they still did not know how the heart had stopped beating. After all, Yang Ming's flying needle was too thin, and it melted after entering the body, so it was normal that Dr. Benjamin's two students could not find the cause of death. Take the heart and put it under the electron microscope for me to see, Dr. Benjamin finally said. However, Dr. Benjamin was Dr. Benjamin after all. He was much better than his two students. Soon, they found the cause of death of their own people. The heart was pierced by an extremely small sharp weapon. Although the cause was found, there was no way to find the sharp weapon. This was also the reason why the two students did not find the cause of death. After all, there was no sharp weapon in the heart, so they naturally ignored the small needle hole. Doctor, that's impossible. We've seen the surveillance footage on the speedboat. After he died, no one touched his heart. There was no chance to take away the weapon. Besides, it doesn't matter if the weapon is taken away or not, right? Ian Siren asked. I don't know. This is very strange. Dr. Benjamin said, let's take a look at the video from the camera on his body. Let's see if there are any clues. So, Dr. Benjamin and his two students watched the video together. On Yang Ming's side, he told Dong Jun about Dr. Benjamin's reaction. As a result, Dong Jun was amused and laughed. He didn't expect Dr. Benjamin to be so funny. After taking the body back, he became suspicious. He didn't know how their people died. But, Yang Ming, how did you do it? Dong Jun was also very surprised, but after asking, he shook his head and said, "Forget it, I won't ask. Although we are brothers, the master only left the assassination to you. I don't know how to do it, so I won't ask. Actually, it's nothing. I just used a flying needle." Yang Ming did not hide, "It's just that the material of my flying needle is special. It melts when it comes into contact with blood, so Dr. Benjamin can't find any problems. So that's how it is." Dong Jun nodded. Dr. Benjamin and his two students watched the video for most of the night, but they did not find any problems. The video was not long. It was only a few minutes after the speedboat docked. Because, after the speedboat lost its automatic cruise, according to the video, their own people were still alive. At that time, he was studying where to park the speedboat, and the camera he carried on his body moved with his body. But after that, the camera stopped moving. Except for the speedboat swaying with the waves in the sea, the people on the speedboat did not move anymore. At this time, it was certain that their own people were dead. From this video, Dr. Benjamin took off several cameras on his body and played them back and forth, but there was nothing valuable in any of the cameras. Basically, except for the sea scenery, there were a few scattered people on the dock, but they did not seem to be assassins. Some were dock managers, some were vendors on the dock, and some were owners of other speedboats. These people did not mean to do anything, or they had no reason to do anything at all. To Dr. Benjamin's disappointment, they didn't find anything in the video. They didn't even see Yang Ming and Dong Jun. This made Dr. Benjamin feel even more surprised and doubtful. Did Yang Ming and Dong Jun do it? If so, how did they do it? How did they kill their own people? More importantly, how could they determine if this person was from the Central? Dr. Benjamin was sure that there could not be a spy in Central to leak the information, because except for himself, no one in Central could contact the outside world without permission. Even Big Scorpion, Yin Siren, and Little Leng could not. But Yang Ming and Dong Jun did not go through the slightest interrogation, and they determined that this person was from Central, which made Dr. Benjamin very puzzled. And if it was not Yang Ming and Dong Jun who did it, who could it be? There were no other enemies in Central except for Dong Jun and Yang Ming, so who did it? With doubts, Dr. Benjamin could only continue to do the experiment. The experimental materials were getting fewer and fewer every day, but Dr. Benjamin could not do anything about it. He did not want to do this. He wanted to send someone to buy it, but he did not dare. He was not sure who his potential enemy was, and he was not sure how the other party determined that his people were from Central, so Dr. Benjamin could only hold on for the time being. As for Yang Ming and Dong Jun, both of them returned to their previous leisurely lifestyle. Chapter 2309. Yang Ming and Dong Jun spent their days enjoying delicious food in various parts of the town other than going back to the hotel to sleep. Dr. Benjamin, on the other hand, was living in depression. Yang Ming would monitor him every day and tell Dong Jun about Dr. Benjamin's situation. Dong Jun couldn't help but laugh when he heard it. He never would have thought that he would become the hunter and Dr. Benjamin would become the prey. Dong Jun had thought about asking Yang Ming to help him deal with Dr. Benjamin. However, in his mind, dealing with Dr. Benjamin was just a matter of hiding. He would think of a way to avoid Dr. Benjamin's pursuit and then find a way to counterattack. However, he never would have thought that the situation would turn out like this. How was this hiding? He and Yang Ming were having a good time. Instead, it was Dr. Benjamin who was in a dilemma. He didn't know what to do. He couldn't send people out, but he couldn't not send people out either. The experimental drugs had been used up. Although there were some living supplies in the center, they would become less and less as time passed. He couldn't just die on Fire Wolf Island, right? Dong Jun really wanted to laugh out loud when he heard Yang Ming's description of the situation. This Dr. Benjamin had offended Yang Ming. He had really shot himself in the foot and was now in a dilemma. If he had obediently let him go and didn't find trouble with Yang Ming, all these things wouldn't have happened. Finally, Dr. Benjamin couldn't take it anymore. After all, he hadn't done any experiments for a long time. Thus, he found the old butler, Big Scorpion, to discuss countermeasures with him. Big Scorpion, what do you think we should do? Dr. Benjamin rubbed his temples and asked with a headache. Dr. Benjamin, I think we can't wait any longer. We should continue to send people out. Old Scorpion said, but we should send someone stronger this time. At the very least, we can't let him get killed without a sound. Oh. That's right. You mean, send Man of Steel? Dr. Benjamin raised his eyebrows. Yes, Iron Man's technology is more mature. Cyborgs are strong, but they're not easy to control. The hypnotist can't give him too many orders at once, so the best choice is Iron Man, Old Scorpion said. Alright, then let's send the Iron Men. Dr. Benjamin nodded and said, but we have to hurry up with the hypnotists. Our latest number 03 drug can be used in batches. If we can create a batch of obedient biohumans, our combat power will definitely increase greatly. Alright, I'll look for a hypnotist in a moment to research it. Old Scorpion said. He was the chief steward of Central and was in charge of communicating with Dr. Benjamin's subordinates. This time, we'll set off at night. It's too conspicuous during the day. This time, we'll set off at night. I don't believe that there will be assassins over there at night. Dr. Benjamin gritted his teeth in anger over the previous 2 deaths. He still didn't know how his people died. It was completely inexplicable. There wasn't even a shadow of an assassin in the video. Dr. Benjamin really didn't know who was targeting him. Alright, I'll arrange it. Old Scorpion replied. Yang Ming finished watching and told Dong Jun, who was eating barbecued meat, about Dr. Benjamin's plan. Oh. You're going to act again. But this time, what about the Iron Men? Dong Jun couldn't help but frown. They can't be assassinated silently, right? Iron Men won't be easy. Yang Ming nodded and said, it's impossible to do it silently. I don't know if the camera on the Iron Men is the kind that transmits in real time. But this time, Dr. Benjamin won't use the previous one. He'll probably use a real-time one. I'm afraid he'll show up. Then. Do you need my help? Dong Jun asked. Yes. Yang Ming said, but you don't need to show up. When the time comes, I'll disguise myself as Dr. Benjamin and shoot. You hide in the dark and use the sniper rifle to shoot at the location I told you. Pfft. You're going to disguise yourself as Dr. Benjamin. Isn't that a bit too much? Dong Jun was shocked and then smiled bitterly. After Dr. Benjamin sees it, he'll probably be fuming. He won't be fuming, but he'll definitely be shocked. Yang Ming said, but the more it's like this, the more confused he'll be. Who is his enemy? Although we can't hide it from him forever, it seems that we can hide it for a while. It's also good for us to confuse him like this. Well, not bad. Dong Jun nodded and said, but using a sniper rifle at such a close distance, I'm afraid I'll accidentally hurt you. Are you going to fight with the Iron Men at close range, and then I'll find a chance to shoot? I'll control him, lift him up, and then tell you where to shoot. Yang Ming said, I'm not worried about your marksmanship. Your marksmanship should be very accurate. Even if you accidentally shoot me, it's okay. You can't kill me. It's just a sniper rifle bullet. It's nothing. Ugh, you're stronger than the Iron Men. Dong Jun said with a wry smile. It's not a problem to get a sniper rifle in such a short time, right? Yang Ming looked at the time and asked Dong Jun, no problem. If there's no other way, I'll steal one. It'll be even more confusing. Dong Jun laughed. Okay, then I'll leave it to you. I'll sleep first and replenish my energy. It's estimated that Dr. Benjamin's Iron Men should arrive in the middle of the night. We'll act in the middle of the night, said Yang Ming. I'm going to get a sniper rifle. Dong Jun nodded and stuffed a few pieces of barbecue into his mouth. Then he got up and paid the bill. Yang Ming walked directly back to the motel, and Dong Jun drove to get a sniper rifle. This open-air barbecue plaza was not far from the motel. It was only a 10-minute walk. Yang Ming soon returned to the motel to rest and prepare for the fierce battle at night. Dong Jun came back when it was almost dark, carrying a black leather case in his hand. Yang Ming knew that it was a sniper rifle at a glance. Where did you get it? Yang Ming didn't expect Dong Jun to be so efficient. A gang's arsenal in the neighboring city. Dong Jun smiled and said, I wanted to spend money to buy it, but their boss was very arrogant, so I took it back. You're ruthless. Yang Ming got up from the bed, quickly washed up, and then dressed. Chapter 23:10. Hee, it's a piece of cake. Dong Jun laughed. This level of theft was really a piece of cake for Dong Jun. It was as if he had entered an uninhabited land. Let's go eat something first. We won't eat at the doc's food stall tonight. We have been waiting in the car for Dr. Benjamin's people to come, said Yang Ming. Okay. Dong Jun also understood that this Iron Man could not be killed in a few moves. Although it was midnight at the dock, there were still some sailors waiting at the dock. It was inconvenient for Yang Ming to make a move. Yang Ming and Dong Jun found a restaurant near the motel and had dinner. Then, they drove to the dock and stopped in a public parking lot, quietly waiting for Benjamin's Iron Man to arrive. According to his current speed, he will arrive in about an hour and a half. Yang Ming said to Dong Jun, you assemble the sniper rifle first and put it in the back seat. Once we reach a place where there is no one, I will start. Then, I will tell you the shooting position. Okay. Dong Jun nodded. He got out of the car and took the sniper rifle. He sat in the back seat and assembled it. Then, he hid it under the back seat. The whole process took a few minutes. He was quite skilled. Your technique is quite skilled. It seems that you are also an assassin material. Yang Ming smiled. Ha! I learned it secretly before. Dong Jun smiled self-deprecatingly. You know, I always wanted to suppress you and replace you, but now it seems that even if I become you, it is impossible to have so many opportunities. I still can't compete with elder you. It's a coincidence. Yang Ming said faintly. Recalling his experience, it could be described as a coincidence. You can't say that. Why do you have a coincidence, but I don't? It is important for people to know themselves. There is a certain reason why God favors you. Dong Jun said, you are warm-hearted and like to help others. If not for this, Master and Grandpa's son would not have given you benefits. As for me, I used to be very selfish and indifferent to other people's affairs. This also led to my current situation. Actually, your personality isn't necessarily bad, Yang Ming said with a bitter smile. You're too enthusiastic. You're not suitable to be an assassin. Hee. Dong Jun smiled and said, but no matter what, I want to thank you. If it weren't for you, the plan against Dr. Benjamin wouldn't have gone so smoothly. Is it going well? Yang Ming shook his head. This is just the beginning. Didn't you hear Dr. Benjamin? He has a new batch of biohumans, and they are much more powerful than the Steel Men. They can be mass-produced, but they don't seem to have a mind of their own. They can only act according to the orders of the hypnotist. This is a weakness, but once they make progress, our next move will become much more difficult. Yeah. Biohumans. I didn't expect Dr. Benjamin to have developed this kind of thing, and it's the third-generation product. It's really amazing. Dong Jun said, I've been in the center for so long, but I haven't received any news about this. It seems that Dr. Benjamin's confidentiality measures are very good. I don't know if he has any trump cards after this biohuman. I hope not, Yang Ming said. If there is, then it will be a fierce battle. I hope the final victory is us, Dong Jun said. Hee, it must be us, Yang Ming smiled. Why do you say that? Dong Jun was stunned and asked. Because in the next novel of the Fishman, not only did I not die, but I also have an apprentice named Lin Yi. He is a very powerful person. Yang Ming said. Pooh. How do you know? Dong Jun's eyes widened. Then, am I not a master's uncle? During this time, when I have nothing to do, I use my mobile phone to read and search for a novel called The Schoolbell's Bodyguard. It seems to be the sequel to my story. Yang Ming said. Really? I'll read it after I kill this man of steel tonight. After reading it, I'll be able to predict the future. Dong Jun remembered the name of the novel. Late at night, in a quiet parking lot, in a Mercedes-Benz ML350, Yang Ming closed his eyes and seemed to be resting. In fact, his eyes were always on the distant sea, staring at a speeding boat. However, with Yang Ming's ability, he did not need to open his eyes at all. Dong Jun was listening to the radio in boredom, quietly waiting for the exciting moment to come. He's ashore, Yang Ming said. Oh. He's already here. What should we do now? Dong Jun asked. Let's see where he's going. Yang Ming said calmly, he just came to the dock. He's whispering to Dr. Benjamin. Let me see what they're talking about. The person who came ashore this time was a man of steel, named Klekro. Like Kevin and Jetson, he was an excellent man of steel. Once upon a time, the man of steel was an invincible existence. Klekro was proud of being a man of steel, but now, he no longer had his previous arrogance. Kevin and Jetson had died mysteriously and inexplicably disappeared. Of course, this was not a big deal. The most important thing was that although this mission was to purchase some chemicals and drugs, it was definitely not simple. Previously, Honest Shen and another person from Central had died an unnatural death. Dr. Benjamin did not even know who the enemy was, so Klekro had a great responsibility. Although his speedboat had successfully docked and he had also successfully come ashore, he did not dare to be the slightest bit careless. He had to be careful and vigilant for possible dangers at any time. At this moment, there were very few people on the dock. Klekro did not know if there were people who were ambushing him here, so he had to look around for this dangerous figure. However, on the dock, except for some sailors drinking at a food stall not far away, there was no one else. Even the dock administrator was resting. This place was empty, and there was no one else. So, Klekro dialed Dr. Benjamin's phone. Doctor, I have successfully come ashore, but I haven't found any dangerous people around, Klekro said. Except for a few tables of sailors drinking, there is no one else. Well, I can see it. Dr. Benjamin said to the surveillance camera screen, there does seem to be no one around, but you shouldn't relax your vigilance. I don't know if the other party didn't know that you were coming tonight, or if the other party knew but didn't make a move. In short, you have to be vigilant. Chapter 23:11. I understand. What should I do next? Asked Kyle. Now that there is no one to deal with you, go and buy those chemical reagents quickly. Don't stop after you are done. Return directly. Dr. Benjamin said, if you encounter an enemy, don't panic. They shouldn't be able to do anything to you. On the contrary, you have the possibility of killing them. Yes, Dr. Benjamin. After listening to Dr. Benjamin's words, Kyle suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. He also had some confidence in his heart. He quickly walked to the exit of the dock. It was the middle of the night now. There were no taxis here. He had to walk. However, even if there were taxis, Kyle wouldn't take them. He didn't dare to take a taxi. What if it was an enemy's car? After getting in the car, they would silently throw a bomb in the car. Although he was a man of steel, if it was a powerful bomb, it could also kill him. After all, a man of steel was not the kind of Gene Gang voodoo. He couldn't be invulnerable. Knowing that Dr. Benjamin could see his situation at any time, Kyle didn't say much. After hanging up the phone, he hurried to the chemical supply store. Dr. Benjamin was a big customer of the chemical supply store. Although it was already the middle of the night, he had already called the owner of the chemical supply store to wait in the store. Young Ming saw all of this with his eyes, and then told Dong Jun what he saw. It seems that Dr. Benjamin is confident, but this time I am afraid he will be disappointed again. Yang Ming smiled. Yeah, it is really Dr. Benjamin's misfortune to meet you. Said Dong Jun, what should we do now? Drive slowly. I will show you the direction, said Yang Ming. Okay. Dong Jun started the car and slowly drove out of the parking lot. Kyle looked like a person who had just returned home from work. He walked on the side of the street. His pace was fast, and he had a strong purpose. He went straight in the direction of the chemical supply store. However, he was very vigilant. When he was walking, he was always looking around to see if there were any enemies nearby. He didn't dare to take a car, afraid that he would be killed in the car. He also didn't dare to walk too fast or too slow. He could only walk at a constant speed. Although Yang Ming and Dong Jun were following him, they were very far away. This was because Yang Ming knew that if they got close to him, he would notice them. However, as long as they were in his blind spot, he wouldn't be able to see them. Where do we start? Dong Jun asked. Not far ahead, there is a small alley with very few people. There are construction material shops on both sides of the road. It is the street in front of the chemical shop. This place is closed at night, so there are not many people. It is the best place to start. Yang Ming looked at the terrain in front of them and said. Alright, I'll get ready. Dong Jun nodded. Sure enough, as Yang Ming said, Kyle really went to the street that he had to pass through. The shops there were closed. It was very desolate at night. There were no pedestrians and no cars passing by. This was the town's construction material market. Naturally, no one would come to buy things at night. Yang Ming glanced at the people in front and said, speed up and catch up. Yes. Dong Jun responded and quickly stepped on the accelerator, increasing the speed of the car. The engine roared as the car sped up, heading straight for Quechelaire. The license plate of the ML350 had been removed. There was no need to worry about whether Dr. Benjamin could see the car. Moreover, the car's windows were covered with dark-colored film. It was impossible to see the situation inside from the outside. The car was getting closer and closer to Kyle. Kyle also felt a car approaching and immediately became alert. He stopped, and a small pistol fell into his hand. He quietly looked at the approaching car. Once something was wrong, he would immediately shoot. However, the ML350 drove past Kyle and turned directly at a fork in the road ahead. Kyle breathed a sigh of relief. It seemed that this car passed by here by accident and did not want to deal with him. Kyle quickened his pace again and walked forward. At this time, Dong Jun's car actually stopped after turning the corner. He quickly picked up the sniper rifle, then opened a gap in the window and aimed outside. As for Yang Ming, He got out of the car and waited quietly at the intersection for Cranier to come over. Kyle's weak point was still the sole of his right foot. As he expected, it was in the same place as Kevin's weakness. It seemed that Dr. Benjamin did not modify the new Iron Men. In other words, Kyle's batch of Iron Men was manufactured at the same time as Jetson and Kevin. Moreover, when Kevin was killed by Yang Ming last time, Dr. Benjamin actually did not know how Kevin died, so he did not modify him. This way, it was convenient for Yang Ming. In fact, even if he modified it, there was no problem. It was just that Yang Ming had to spend more effort and use his X-ray vision to find the weakness on Claire's body. It was a little more troublesome than looking at his right foot directly. Kyle was walking when he suddenly felt that there seemed to be something blocking his way in front of him. He was shocked and found that a masked man had appeared silently in front of him. "You, who are you? What do you want to do?" Kyle was shocked and subconsciously wanted to take out his pistol and shoot Yang Ming. However, as soon as his hand touched the pistol, he felt a cold wind beside him, and his pistol appeared in the hand of the person in front of him. "Don't do something useless. You want to shoot me with a pistol. You think too simply." Yang Ming twisted the pistol, and the pistol was deformed. Yang Ming threw it on the ground beside him. It could not be used anymore. Kyle's pupils suddenly shrank, and he said in surprise, "You, who are you?" "Iron Man." Yang Ming said lightly, "Also called Iron Warrior." "Gah!" Cranier's eyes widened, and his jaw almost dropped. This was because only the people in Central knew the names Steel Man and Steel Warrior. Only he and the people in Central knew that he was a Steel Man. How did Yang Ming, an outsider, know about it? "You're surprised, aren't you?" Yang Ming smiled. "I don't mind telling you that there was a guy named Jetson and a guy named Kevin. I killed them all. Now, you're the only one left. You. How do you know all this? How did you find me?" Quetzalcoatl turned pale with fright. Chapter 23:12. If someone else threatened him, he might not be afraid, but the person in front of him said that he killed Jetson and Kevin. That was a different story. Kyle knew about the disappearance of Jetson and Kevin, but only the people in Central knew about it. The others didn't know who these two people were. Moreover, they didn't know that these two people were Iron Men. Since Yang Ming said it and knew that Kyle was a Iron Man, Kyle was naturally afraid. He believed that Yang Ming had killed two Iron Men, and he also believed that Yang Ming had the ability to deal with him. However, while Kyle was shocked, Dr. Benjamin, who was far away in Central Base's Fire Wolf Island, was even more shocked. He looked at the conversation between Yang Ming and Kyle on the monitor screen in disbelief. This mysterious masked man actually knows that Kyle is a Iron Man, and he is the person who killed Jetson and Kevin. Who exactly was this person? Could it be that this person has been targeting Central since a long time ago? Has he started to be hostile to Central? Then, was this person the same as the one who had killed Jin Laosher and his other subordinate? If so, is this person still Yang Ming or Dong Jun? How could Yang Ming and Dong Jun have started to deal with Central so early? Could it be that there is someone else? Dr. Benjamin had a headache. Things were getting more and more confusing. He couldn't figure out who his enemy was at all. He didn't even have an imaginary enemy. He was in the dark, and he didn't even know where to start or avoid it. This made him very depressed. Find a way to take off his mask and see who he is. Dr. Benjamin ordered Kyle through earplugs. Kyle took a deep breath. Although he was a little afraid, he couldn't disobey Dr. Benjamin's order. He had to complete it. Otherwise, he would face an even more terrifying punishment when he returned. As for the person in front of him saying that he killed Jetson and Kevin, Kyle didn't believe it after he calmed down. After all, even if Yang Ming was also a Iron Man, he would at most be on par with him. How could he kill him? Thinking of this, Kyle's confidence came back. He stretched out his hand and took the initiative to attack Yang Ming. He had no other thoughts. He just wanted to follow Dr. Benjamin's order and see Yang Ming's true face. Seeing Cranier make a move, Yang Ming naturally understood what he meant. It was easy for Yang Ming to dodge or block. The current Yang Ming was completely different from when he faced Jetson and Kevin. Things were different now. An opponent like Cranier was not a threat in Yang Ming's eyes at all. After experiencing the battle with Elder Yu, what Ancient Sept, what Dr. Benjamin, in Yang Ming's eyes, could basically be regarded as floating clouds. Yang Ming also had the wicked idea of revealing his true face to scare Dr. Benjamin, so he deliberately pretended that he couldn't dodge in time and was caught by Cranier. Cranier then pulled down the mask on his face. Gah! Kyle was shocked when he saw Yang Ming's true face. Fuck, isn't this Dr. Benjamin? Why is Dr. Benjamin here? In front of me. Kyle was a little confused. It was normal for Dr. Benjamin to know the secrets of Jetson, Kevin, and the Iron Man. It was also normal for Dr. Benjamin to want to kill Jetson and Kevin. But is the person in front of me really Dr. Benjamin? With Kyle's keen observation, he really couldn't tell. After all, the person in front of him was exactly the same as Dr. Benjamin. He couldn't see any traces of disguise on his face. Doctor? Kyle asked subconsciously. In the central base, Fire Wolf Island, Dr. Benjamin looked at the face that was exactly the same as his in the surveillance screen and was frightened. What the fuck, what's going on? If Dr. Benjamin didn't know that he had no brothers, he would even think that this person was his twin brother. Could it be that he had a split personality and created a doppelganger? Dr. Benjamin shook his head. He was a great scientist. Naturally, he didn't believe such nonsense. So, after confirming that the fake Dr. Benjamin had nothing to do with him, Dr. Benjamin ordered Kyle, this person is not me. I am in the central base, Fire Wolf Island. The Dr. Benjamin in front of you is a fake. Ah! Kyle was stunned when he heard Dr. Benjamin's words, but he immediately reacted and attacked Yang Ming again. Petty tricks. Yang Ming snorted coldly and carried Kyle in his arms. Then, he instructed Dong Jun through the headset, shoot his right foot. Roger. After Dong Jun received the order, he suddenly pulled the trigger. Before he died, the last words he heard were for someone to shoot at his right foot. When he heard this, he knew that things weren't going well, but he didn't have the strength to resist. It was too fast. He didn't understand why Yang Ming could carry him. He also tried to struggle and break free, but Yang Ming's hand was like an iron clamp clamping his body, making him unable to move. Kyle waved his arm and hit Yang Ming's head, but what surprised him was that Yang Ming's head was also like an Iron Man. He couldn't move it no matter how hard he hit. Is he really an Iron Man? Otherwise, how did he know the weakness of an Iron Man? Bang! After the gunshot, sparks suddenly flew out from Cranier's feet. Very soon, Cranier stopped moving. Dong Jun's bullet had destroyed the circuit on Cranier's body, turning him into a pile of scrap metal. Dr. Benjamin, who was in front of the monitor, was also dumbfounded. He looked at the scene in front of him in disbelief. Kyle was destroyed, and the enemy actually knew the weakness of an Iron Man. He knew that their right foot was the weak spot. Of course, this was not the end of it. What shocked Dr. Benjamin the most was that Yang Ming was also invulnerable like an Iron Man. The Iron Man's fist could not do anything to him. This was simply unbelievable. How did the Iron Man's technology spread? Could it be that there was really a traitor in Central? But who was the traitor? That's impossible. Other than me, the person in charge, the only ones who know this technology and can make it are my 2 apprentices. Moreover, they can't rely on their own ability to make it. The key operation has to be done by Dr. Benjamin himself. Chapter 23:13. Who is it? Who is it? Dr. Benjamin was about to go crazy. What he couldn't accept the most was not the existence of an enemy, but until now, he didn't know who this enemy was, what kind of people they were, and why they were enemies with Central and himself. Previously, he suspected that his enemy was Yang Ming and Dong Jun, but now it seemed that it was not the case. It was possible that Yang Ming and Dong Jun were the ones who killed Jin Honest and the other subordinate. However, it was absolutely impossible for Yang Ming and Dong Jun to kill this cranier. Were Yang Ming and Dong Jun so powerful? How could they know where Cranier's weak point was? Moreover, listening to his tone, he also killed Jetson and Kevin previously. That was even more strange and confusing. At that time, it seemed that Dong Jun had not betrayed him yet, and Yang Ming had no reason to go against Central, right? If this was not a big deal, what made Dr. Benjamin want to die the most was that after his enemy revealed his true identity, he actually looked exactly like him. What the fuck is this? For the first time, Dr. Benjamin had the urge to curse. Isn't this too much? I spent a lot of effort to see the enemy's face, but it turned out to be me. Fuck your mother. Dr. Benjamin cursed, but he couldn't do anything. The enemy was too strong. It was fine if Shin Onish died, but the death of the second subordinate was bizarre enough. Dr. Benjamin didn't know how the enemy found the flaw and killed the second subordinate. There wasn't even a shadow of the assassin in the video. The third subordinate, Cranier, saw the enemy after he went out, but he was still killed in a face-to-face encounter. The most annoying thing was that this enemy was Dr. Benjamin himself. Old mule, what's going on with this fake doctor? Dr. Benjamin frowned and asked, who is this enemy? How did he know that Cranier went to the town in the middle of the night, and how did he follow him? Every time we send someone out, why does it seem like the other party knows everything? Well. Old Scorpion shook his head. To be honest, he found this strange as well. What was going on? The other party seemed to know every step of Dr. Benjamin's plan. As soon as the people were sent over, the other side was ready to kill them. How were they supposed to live like this? Dr. Benjamin's experiment should be abandoned and he should just wait for his death. Forget it. If I don't know, you definitely don't know either. Dr. Benjamin looked at Old Scorpion's troubled face and sighed. This was the first time he had encountered such a big problem since his debut. This was going to kill him. How could this enemy be so strong? When did he make such a powerful enemy? Why didn't he have any impression of it? Dr. Benjamin was not a person who was good at stirring up trouble. Although the Central's forces had been developing in secret all this time, controlling many plutocrats and having a huge economic power, he did not offend anyone easily. Apart from Sun Sikong and the others, Dr. Benjamin had no other enemies. At least he was doing experiments on Fire Wolf Island in the Central base every day. He didn't go out, so how could he offend anyone? Could it be Sun Sikong and the others? Thinking of this, Dr. Benjamin's heart skipped a beat. Only Sun Sikong had such a big ability. That Frankenstein's ability was not inferior to his own. If it was him, then it was really possible. It couldn't be him, right? If it was him, then it would be troublesome. Dr. Benjamin frowned. He felt a little helpless. The situation in front of him put him in a desperate situation. He couldn't even get the experiment equipment. Dr. Benjamin, how about we make some changes to the steel men? Old Scorpion quickly thought of an idea. Maybe the enemy somehow found out the weakness of the steel men, and that's why they were able to kill him so easily. But if we make some changes and send someone else, they might not be able to react in time. If they can't kill our new steel men, then we can send more of them out to shop. Old Scorpion quickly said. That's right. Yes, this is the only way for now. Dr. Benjamin nodded and said, then it's settled. This time, in order to prevent anyone from leaking the secret, I will personally transform the steel men. No one will be allowed to participate. I don't believe that the secret will be leaked this time. Yes, and this time, when the steel men go out, it's best for you to arrange the time yourself. Don't even tell me. This can also test whether there are spies in the central base. Old Scorpion said. Well, I still believe in you, but since you want to clear yourself of suspicion, then it's fine. I will do as you say. I will start in a while and finish the transformation of this new steel man as soon as possible. Dr. Benjamin really couldn't think of any other way, so this was the only way. On the other side, Yang Ming had already crushed all kinds of tracking, monitoring, and surveillance equipment on Cranier's body, and then threw Cranier's body in the trunk of the car. He directly got in the car and said to Dong Jun, let's go, find a place to dump the body. That's it. Dong Jun's face was full of shock and disbelief. Because in his impression, the Man of Steel was an invincible existence. It was simply the symbol of invincibility. However, when it came to Yang Ming's side, it was easily dealt with. Moreover, it was done by Dong Jun with one shot. He couldn't believe it. Although this sniper rifle used armor-piercing bullets, no matter how powerful it was, it shouldn't be able to destroy the steel men. It could only be said that Yang Ming had found the steel men's weakness early on. It's done. What else do you want? Yang Ming shrugged and asked. Nothing much, I just feel that it was a little too easy. How could it be done so easily? Dong Jun said in shock. Easy? I don't think it was that easy. Yang Ming smiled bitterly. This is much more troublesome than dealing with the previous two people. You even used a gun, how is that easy? The previous person, it was so easy. He didn't even have to show his face, and he killed him. This, well, Yang Ming, I find that I admire you more and more. It's too awesome. Dong Jun said, this is simply us dealing with Dr. Benjamin. How is it Dr. Benjamin dealing with us? I feel like we are the hunters hunting, and Dr. Benjamin is no different from the prey in our eyes. We are dealing with Dr. Benjamin, aren't we? Yang Ming asked back. Chapter 23:14. That's true, but having said that, I just wanted to get you to fight with me before, but I didn't expect the situation to be one-sided now. We're strong and Dr. Benjamin is weak. He's probably going crazy, right? Dong Jun said with some schadenfreude. He's not going crazy, he's already going crazy. Yang Ming smiled and told Dong Jun about the conversation between Dr. Benjamin and Old Scorpion. What? Dr. Benjamin is going to modify the Man of Steel. Dong Jun didn't expect Dr. Benjamin to be so desperate. He had no choice but to modify the Man of Steel. Yeah, but it's useless. We'll kill him anyway, Yang Ming said casually. Let him do what he wants. We'll torture him to death. Yang Ming, to be honest, I've been in Central for so long. This is the first time I've felt so good. It's like I've vented all my anger. It feels so good. Dong Jun said. There's something even better. Yang Ming smiled and said, I don't know how Dr. Benjamin will feel when we kill the new version of Iron Man that he worked so hard to transform. Yeah, it'll be very interesting. Dong Jun said with a smile. Dong Jun drove to an abandoned garbage treatment plant. Yang Ming looked at the shredder that was still working around the clock. He quietly picked up Kyle's body and disappeared into the vast night. Yang Ming wanted to hide from the workers here and throw the body into the shredder. It was a simple matter. With a slight movement of the butterfly, no one could see his figure at all. Soon, Yang Ming came back and threw Kyle's body into the shredder. It would probably turn into a pile of dust very soon. This was the fastest way to get rid of the body. Although Lan Ling gave Yang Ming some corpse disintegration powder, it was useless against a man of steel like Kyle's body. They could only use the shredder to destroy it. After doing all this, Yang Ming and Dong Jun went back to sleep, while Dr. Benjamin worked tirelessly on the new version of Man of Steel. Needless to say, Dr. Benjamin's perseverance was amazing. He did not sleep the whole night and worked until the next morning. A brand new Man of Steel was born. This time, the Man of Steel's Achilles heel was not in the right foot, but was left in the most impossible place by Dr. Benjamin, the head. In theory, the head was the weakest part of the body. It was also the focus of Dr. Benjamin's transformation of the Iron Man in the past. Because the head was the most vulnerable part of the body, generally, when two people fought, they would attack the head first. But this time, Dr. Benjamin did the opposite and left the weak spot on the head. Of course, it was impossible not to leave the weak spot. Dr. Benjamin had to leave a communication interface, a force charging interface, and a system restart interface. These things could not be omitted. If omitted, this Man of Steel was likely to have a program error and not listen to commands, or be unable to be resurrected after a crash. This new generation of Man of Steel was called Kyle's Achilles II. Of course, this was also why Dr. Benjamin was too lazy to give him a name. Some of the previous Jetson and Kevin had a name before, and some of them did not know what name they originally had, so Post-Doc Benjamin gave them a name. This Kyle's Achilles II did not have a name, so Dr. Benjamin directly gave him such a name. After the manufacturing was completed, Dr. Benjamin directly sent him out of the center to buy chemical reagents. It was daytime, so there was no need to contact the owner of the chemical store in advance. This time, Dr. Benjamin did not tell anyone. Except for him and Kyle's Achilles II, no one knew the news. Even Old Scorpion, Yin Siren, and Little Leng did not know. Of course, there was one more person who knew, and this person was Yang Ming. When Yang Ming woke up, he did not expect Dr. Benjamin to be so awesome. He transformed a new version of Man of Steel in one night, and sent him to die so quickly. He was really bold. So, Yang Ming told Dong Jun about these things. What? He made it. So fast. Dong Jun was a little surprised after hearing it. Then what should we do now? It's daytime now. It's not like last night, blocking people and attacking them in public. How are we going to kill that Kyle's Achilles II? If it was somewhere else or on the soles of his feet, I wouldn't be able to handle it. I might even have to kidnap him and kill him in a deserted place. But now, there's no need to go through so much trouble. They're at sea, and so are we. When the time comes, we'll just shoot him in the head with a sniper rifle and kill him on the sea. He doesn't even need to come ashore. No one will know. After killing him, we can come back to sleep. That's so insidious. Dong Jun said in admiration. He did not expect Yang Ming to be so ruthless. He directly attacked at sea and killed Kyle's Achilles II without waiting for him to come ashore. Dr. Benjamin would probably vomit blood at that time. Hee, it's okay. You have to use the same method to deal with the same person, Yang Ming said. The two went out to find a place to eat breakfast, then went to the Las Vegas Beach Pier. This time, they did not eat at the open-air food stalls. Instead, they found someone to rent a speedboat. After paying the deposit, Dong Jun and Yang Ming drove the speedboat out to sea. As for their luggage, no one checked it at all. After all, this was a tourist spot. Who would check a guest's luggage for no reason? After driving the speedboat out to sea, they came to a place where there was no one around. Dong-jun quickly took out his sniper rifle, assembled it, and hid it under his body. He could use it at any time. Yang-ming observed the arrival of Kyle's Achilles II from afar. "I'm ready." "Where is Kyle's Achilles II?" Dong-jun asked. "Soon. You should be able to see him with binoculars now," Yang-ming said. "Is that so?" Dong-jun picked up the binoculars. Sure enough, he saw a black dot in the distance that was quickly approaching them. It was probably the speedboat that Yang-ming mentioned, Kyle's Achilles II. "You see it?" Yang-ming asked. I see it." Dong-jun nodded excitedly. "Who's going to attack later?" "I'll do it. I can kill him directly within the range of this sniper rifle. I don't need to get too close. This way, Dr. Benjamin won't find out who did it," Yang-ming said. Chapter 23:15. Alright, this time, Dr. Benjamin will probably be very confused. Who is the person who wants to deal with him? Dong-jun said with a smile, "This feeling of sitting behind the scenes is really good." Is it good to be the behind-the-scenes boss? Yang-ming thought of his doubts about the behind-the-scenes boss before, and he also had a feeling of madness. "Hey, don't make fun of me." Dong-jun shook his head with a wry smile. "After you know my identity, you don't want to lower yourself to my level. You care about the relationship between fellow disciples and don't want to fall out with me. You want to give me a chance to repent. Otherwise, how can I be your opponent? All along, I thought that I was the one who planned the strategy, but now I see you playing with Dr. Benjamin. He doesn't even know who his opponent is until now. I know that if you want to deal with me, then I have no room to resist at all." Although it is impossible to confuse him all the time, it can at least confuse him for a while. Yang-ming said, "At present, it is good to make him dizzy for a while." In fact, what Yang-ming didn't say was that if he didn't have Elder Yu's super-modified version of the Vajra Voodoo inheritance, it wouldn't be easy for him to deal with an Iron Man like Cranier. At least, it wouldn't be as smooth as it was now. After a while, Yang-ming used his telescopic vision to determine the position of Cranier II. Then, he raised the sniper rifle, aimed at Cranier II, and pulled the trigger. In the distance, Cranier II's head exploded. Yang-ming's marksmanship, coupled with his telescopic vision, was quite accurate, even more accurate than Dong-jun. Therefore, Cranier II was so tragic. Before he could land on the shore, he was killed by Yang-ming's shot. "Let's go back." Yang-ming deftly dismantled the sniper rifle, then put it back into the box. Finally, he put the box into his backpack and said to Dong-jun, "Okay." Dong-jun was a little speechless. Dr. Benjamin was really helpless when he encountered an opponent like Yang-ming. This is too ruthless. That's right, at this moment, Dr. Benjamin was about to explode in anger. From the monitor, he suddenly saw that Cryer II had been shot in the head, but there was no enemy in the monitor's image. It was obvious that the enemy had aimed and fired from a distance, and his monitoring device could not monitor a place that was too far away. However, Dr. Benjamin couldn't figure it out. He really couldn't figure it out. How did the opponent know that Cryer II had left Central for Las Vegas Beach? Even if he knew this, how did he know that Cranier II's weakness was in the head? Isn't this enemy too? Why does he feel like a psychic? Dr. Benjamin. Yes, he was about to go crazy. The enemy seemed to be a fortune teller, or a prophet. It wasn't scary to have an enemy, but the scary thing was that the enemy predicted everything. Dr. Benjamin couldn't adapt to it no matter what he did. In desperation, Dr. Benjamin could only activate the automatic return function, so that the speedboat turned around and quickly drove back to the central base, Firewolf Island, before reaching Dallas Vegas Beach. After all, it was impossible for the speedboat to continue to Las Vegas Beach. Dr. Benjamin couldn't let the body of Iron Man fall into the hands of the local police. Dr. Benjamin took a deep breath. He also knew the seriousness of the matter. He had to take some measures. He had to find out who his enemy was. Old Mule. Dr. Benjamin pressed the communicator and began to call Old Mule. He quickly called Old Mule over. "Doctor, what's the matter? How's it going?" Old Mule walked into Dr. Benjamin's office and asked carefully. "Dead, another one is dead." Dr. Benjamin said dejectedly. "What? Another one is dead? What do you mean, Doctor? Didn't you personally transform a new Iron Man? Is he dead too?" Old Mule asked curiously. "Look at the surveillance video yourself." Dr. Benjamin didn't talk nonsense. He directly pulled up the surveillance video and showed it to Old Mule. When Old Mule saw that Crier 2 was shot in the head, he couldn't help but be shocked. "Doctor, you set the Achilles heel on your head?" "Yes, I thought that the most dangerous place was the safest place. No one could have thought that the Achilles heel would be on the Iron Man's head. What I didn't expect was that the opponent could predict the future and directly shot my man in the head." Dr. Benjamin said painfully. "Old Mule, what do you think I should do? Who the hell wants to deal with me? Isn't this too ruthless? This." Old Mule was also secretly shocked. "Doctor, the opponent is not an ordinary person, but he said before that he killed Jetson and Kevin. I think we can start investigating in this regard." "Oh." Dr. Benjamin was slightly taken aback, then nodded. "Yes, we should investigate the cause of death of Jetson and Kevin. Old Mule, you go and arrange for our center's peripheral members in Europe to focus on investigating the cause of death of Jetson. As for Kevin, find the members in Las Vegas to investigate as well." Previously, Dr. Benjamin had also investigated the cause of death of these two people, but he didn't hold on to it. After all, things like Iron Men were central secrets. Dr. Benjamin was also afraid that if he investigated too deeply, it would arouse suspicion. Especially on Kevin's side, there was some vague connection with the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. The Nail and the Supernatural Investigation Bureau, who was not dead, also sent news that Kevin's body seemed to have been taken away by the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. Therefore, Dr. Benjamin suspended the investigation in order not to be exposed. But now, in order to find his enemy, he had to reinvestigate these things. He had to get to the bottom of it. "Okay," Old Mule said quickly after receiving the order. "What do you think we should do next? The test drugs and reagents are gone. We can't go on like this," Dr. Benjamin said in distress. "How about letting our center's peripheral members buy these things and send them here?" Old Mule thought, since our people can't go out and will be killed if we go out, why not get the peripheral people to send them here? The peripheral people currently don't know the specific location of Central, and there is no precedent. In the past, it was our own people who bought these things. After all, some reagents are confidential, said Dr. Benjamin. Chapter 23:16. If that's the case, we can only do it on the Iron Man. What if we make a Iron Man without an Achilles heel? Old Scorpion suggested. No Achilles heel. Dr. Benjamin paused. How do we fix it if there's no electricity or if there's a program error? What's there to fix? Just treat it as a one-time use. If there's no electricity, forget it. We just need to buy the chemicals and medicine and come back. Who cares if it can be used in the future? Old Scorpion said with a bitter smile. A Iron Man with an Achilles heel is dead meat. That's true. Dr. Benjamin nodded. He couldn't calculate the cost now. A Iron Man with an Achilles heel would die if he sent it out. No matter where the Achilles heel was, the enemy would always be able to find it in advance. This made Dr. Benjamin almost go crazy. But there was no other way, so he had to use Old Scorpion's method to make an Iron Man without an Achilles heel. Dr. Benjamin didn't think about whether this Iron Man could be used again in the future after it was used once. At worst, he could wait until he came back and recharge it to become an Iron Man without an Achilles heel. It was just that the process was more complicated and troublesome. But if these complicated processes could really be used against the enemy, Dr. Benjamin would accept it. So with this in mind, Dr. Benjamin began to do as he said because he really couldn't wait. The experiment had been stopped for a long time. If he didn't buy the medicine soon, he would go crazy. However, young Ming saw through Dr. Benjamin and Old Scorpion's plan clearly. Dr. Benjamin is coming up with a new idea. Young Ming smiled and said, he intends to transform a steel man without weaknesses and weak points. Then, he will come and buy those chemicals and drugs. He wants to use them to crack our trick. Ah. No way, Dr. Benjamin actually made this move. Dong Jun said with some surprise. If that's the case, it's a bit troublesome to deal with this Iron Man. No weaknesses, what should we do? Is there no other way? Go and get some super acid with AH0 less than -11. 93. I heard that there are super acids less than -15 now. After you get it, put it in an inert metal container that corrodes slowly. Yang Ming said, when the time comes, I'll throw him in. Even if he has anti-corrosive parts, most of them won't be able to resist the corrosion of this super acid. No way, right? Wouldn't that be very dangerous? Dong Jun felt his hair stand on end. What if some of it gets on your body? Wouldn't you be corroded as well? I'm fine. Yang Ming smiled. Elder, you gave me a big gift. If I don't make good use of it, how can I let him down? If Elder you could deal with it with ordinary super acid, why would brother Lin Dongfang and second brother Lu Tianqi be so helpless? You know, Lu Tianqi's second brother is a biochemistry expert. It's very easy for him to create some super strong acid. That's true. I overlooked the power of your Jin Gang voodoo. Dong Jun sighed. This thing is simply a bug. It is basically invincible. Even if you can't beat others, others can't beat you. It's too powerful. It's a blessing in disguise. Yang Ming smiled. Let's prepare the super acid first. Okay, I'll prepare it in a while. Dong Jun nodded. Dong Jun was a master thief. It was very easy for him to study these things. Yang Ming didn't have to worry at all. However, this time, Dong Jun went out for a little longer. He went out for a day and a night before returning. On Dr. Benjamin's side, he had already created a super Iron Man with no weaknesses. He was going to send this super Iron Man to buy drugs and potions for the experiment. This time, Dr. Benjamin simply didn't disguise because in his opinion, disguise or not, the enemy would eventually be able to distinguish it. Instead of going through the trouble of disguise, it was better to let this person go directly. Anyway, this super Iron Man had no weaknesses and was not afraid of being killed. However, Dr. Benjamin would never have dreamed that Yang Ming had already thought of a countermeasure to his plan that he thought was perfect. If Dr. Benjamin knew about it, it would be too late to cry. The preparation is complete. The super acid is placed in a container made of the latest inert metal. The corrosion is very slow. It should be able to hold on until you throw the super Iron Man in. Dong Jun returned to the motel and said to Yang Ming, the container is placed in an abandoned farm in the western suburbs of the town. No one goes there at the moment. It is very safe and suitable for us to do it. And, okay, let's do it directly in a while. Yang Ming nodded. Oh. Dr. Benjamin's people have already come out. Dong Jun was slightly stunned and asked. They have already come out. Yang Ming said, if you didn't come back, I could only find a way to control him first, but you came back in time. It seems to be just right. Then let's go. Dong Jun nodded with a smile. Let's go. Yang Ming nodded, the difficulty is increasing. There are new challenges every time. It's a bit like a game. That's true. Dong Jun also felt that dealing with Dr. Benjamin was very exciting. It was like playing a game. Yang Ming and Dong Jun left the motel and drove the previous Mercedes-Benz ML350. They were not afraid that Dr. Benjamin would find out. Last time, this car passed by Charlier. Dong Jun parked the car directly in the parking lot of the dock and quietly waited for the arrival of the Super Iron Man. About noon, when Dong Jun was about to suggest if they should eat something first, Yang Ming suddenly said, he is here. Let's get ready and follow him. Oh. He is already here. Okay. Dong Jun quickly started the car and drove in the direction Yang Ming pointed. This time, the Super Iron Man was called Charlier 3. Anyway, it was a temporary item. Dr. Benjamin was too lazy to give him a good name. Even though Cranier 3 knew that Cranier 3 and Cranier 2 had been killed, he was still very confident in himself. This was because he had no weak points and no weak points. He was a perfect Super Iron Man. Even armor-piercing bullets could not do anything to him. So, he parked the speedboat at the dock and went ashore in an ostentatious manner. Chapter 23:17. Cranier 3 didn't avoid it at all. After stopping a taxi, he went straight to the chemical store. Yang Ming, what do we do now? This guy got into a taxi as soon as he got on shore. Dong Jun frowned and asked. It doesn't matter. When the time comes, it will be like kidnapping Zhen Laosher. When he comes out of the chemical store, I will kidnap him and get in the car. Yang Ming directly thought of the operation, so he said to Dong Jun calmly. Okay, then let's wait near the chemical store. Dong Jun nodded. After saying that, Dong Jun started the car and followed the taxi from afar, driving in the direction of the chemical store. Cranier 3 was indeed very arrogant. When he arrived at the entrance of the chemical store, he directly paid the fare and got out of the taxi. He didn't avoid it, nor did he guard against it. He directly got out of the taxi and entered the chemical store to buy some chemical supplies. The chemical supplies he bought this time were much more than what Zhen Laosher had bought before. After all, Dr. Benjamin's laboratory was already at the end of the line. There were no more experimental drugs and reagents left. Moreover, this time, Dr. Benjamin felt that if he could succeed, he would buy more in one go so that he wouldn't encounter any trouble the next time. So this time, when Cranier 3 came out of the chemical store, he was holding a large box that was more than twice the size of what Zhen Laosher had before. Of course, Cranier 3 was a man of steel, so his strength was several times that of Zhen Laosher's, so there was no problem. Zhen Laosher didn't have that much strength, but Cranier 3 had no problem. When Cranier 3 walked out of the chemical store, a Mercedes-Benz ML350 stopped in front of him. Yang Ming got out of the car and hugged Cranier 3. He quickly searched for listening devices, surveillance cameras, satellite tracking devices, and other things on him, and crushed them one by one. Because Yang Ming had now transformed into Dr. Yang Ming's appearance, he wasn't afraid that these devices would record his appearance before he started. Dr. Benjamin, who was far away on Fire Wolf Island, also saw this scene at this moment. He was fuming. He didn't expect that the other party would dare to deal with the Super Iron Man. This Super Iron Man had no flaws or loopholes. This made Dr. Benjamin really surprised at the other party's arrogance. However, besides being surprised, he was also very puzzled. How was the other party going to deal with this Super Iron Man? Dr. Benjamin felt that the other party should know that this Super Iron Man had no flaws. Otherwise, they wouldn't have waited until now to kill it, and instead resorted to kidnapping it. Just like the previous two Super Iron Men, one directly shot the weak point of the soles of the feet, and the other directly shot the head. The other party seemed to know the weaknesses of these Super Iron Men very well. This time, the other party's method was very unusual, which also proved this point. Of course, Dr. Benjamin still had a backup plan. He was afraid that the enemy would destroy the listening devices, surveillance cameras, and tracking devices on this Super Iron Man, so he left a signal transmitter in this Super Iron Man's body that could locate the Super Iron Man's position. As long as the Super Iron Man didn't die, this signal transmitter would continue to work and transmit sound, but not images. Dr. Benjamin didn't believe that the enemy could destroy the Super Iron Man because the Super Iron Man was very strong. Even if you caught him, it was impossible to break open his body and destroy the signal transmitter inside. Therefore, Dr. Benjamin was shocked when he saw the enemy pick up Critchlier 3 and stuff him into the car. In his opinion, Critchlier 3 was very strong. Even if the enemy could barely protect Critchlier 3, Critchlier 3 would definitely break free and fight back. Back then, when Critchlier 3 was picked up and killed by the enemy, it might have been because the time was too short and the speed was too fast, but this time, Dr. Benjamin believed that Critchlier 3 would definitely be able to break free from the enemy's kidnapping. Although the enemy had caught him off guard and destroyed the listening devices, surveillance cameras, and tracking devices, this was all done when he wasn't paying attention. "Who are you? Let go of me." After Critchlier 3 got into the car, he couldn't help but be furious. He hadn't seen what Yang Ming looked like, so he didn't know that he was Dr. Benjamin. Even now, he was very shocked because he found that his hands were grabbed by Yang Ming from behind, and his legs were also pressed against the back of the car by Yang Ming, so he couldn't move at all. "I'm the enemy of Central. It's impossible for me to let you go," Yang Ming said calmly. "Where are you taking me?" Critchlier 3 struggled for a long time, but to no avail, so he could only ask angrily. "I'm taking you to die," Yang Ming said straightforwardly. "I know that you still have a signal transmitter in your body, Dr. Benjamin. You should be able to hear me, but I'm sorry to tell you that this Super Iron Man of yours is only a so-so. He'll die in a while." "You? Who are you?" Critchlier 3 turned his head and suddenly saw Yang Ming's very familiar face. He couldn't help but cry out, "Dr. Benjamin. You're Dr. Benjamin. How is that possible? Why not?" Yang Ming smiled faintly. "I look like Dr. Benjamin. I'm his twin brother, so you don't have to resist. It's useless. I know all the secrets of Central." Critchlier 3 was completely frightened. He never thought that the person who captured him was Dr. Benjamin's twin brother. Of course, the news that Critchlier 3 met someone who looked exactly like Dr. Benjamin was not released by Dr. Benjamin. That was why Critchlier 3 was so frightened and chose to believe Yang Ming's words. Since Yang Ming was Dr. Benjamin's twin brother, knew the secrets of Central, and was very powerful himself, this made Critchlier 3 give up on resisting. This was because Critchlier 3 felt that someone who could fight against Dr. Benjamin was definitely not simple. And he was indeed helpless against Yang Ming's restraints. Yang Ming's strength and skills were stronger than the Iron Man, so he couldn't resist at all. Dr. Benjamin sat in front of Central's monitor with an ashen face. Listening to the conversation between Yang Ming and Critchlear 3, he was about to explode in anger. He didn't have a so-called twin brother. This enemy must have disguised as him to deliberately anger him. Chapter 23:18. Motherfucker. Dr. Benjamin couldn't help but curse. Who is the enemy? Who is it? Who is it? Who is it? Professor, the enemy is much stronger than we thought. Old Scorpion sighed. Things had been going well for the past few years, and they had always been strong. No one dared to provoke them, and they would destroy any enemy they wanted. But now, everything had changed. Now, the Central Center had its hands and feet tied. It couldn't do anything at all. They couldn't even send someone to buy chemical reagents and medicine. It was really as sullen as it could get. As they spoke, Dong Jun had already driven to the abandoned farm in the western suburbs. Yang Ming directly dragged Critchlear 3 out of the car. Where is this? What are you doing? Critchlear 3 was dragged out of the car by Yang Ming. His hands and feet were no longer bound by Yang Ming. So, although he was shouting, his hands and feet were not idle. The first thing he did was to attack Yang Ming. He was a super Iron Man. In his opinion, Yang Ming would not be able to withstand his fierce attacks. Bang! 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 For loud sounds rang out. It was the sound of Critchlear 3's hands and feet hitting Yang Ming. In order to kill Yang Ming directly, Critchlear 3 used all his strength. So, in his opinion, even if Yang Ming was not dead, he would be crippled. It was impossible for him to be completely fine. However, reality was harsh. He realized that Yang Ming was completely fine, as if he was not hurt at all. This was because Yang Ming continued to drag him forward, ignoring his punches and feet. He did not dodge and let him continue to hit him. Critchlear 3 could not believe it. He did not dare to believe that Yang Ming was completely fine. So, in the next moment, he began to hit Yang Ming even more crazily. However, Yang Ming still did not react, as if he could not feel any pain at all. No need to hit me. I am a super Iron Man. Yang Ming said calmly. You are wasting your energy. Ah. Critchlear 3 looked at Yang Ming in disbelief. You are also. Yang Ming didn't answer him. Instead, he dragged him to the container of the super acidic solution that Dong Jun had prepared. Under the horrified gaze of Critchlear 3, Yang Ming directly threw him in. Ah! Critchlear 3 let out a scream before his entire body dissolved in the super acid. He struggled before he died, wanting to drag Yang Ming down with him. He used the last of his strength to throw the super acid at Yang Ming, wanting to dissolve Yang Ming as well. Unfortunately, Yang Ming's chest was the only part of his clothes that was dissolved. Yang Ming's skin was completely unharmed, completely unaffected by the super acid. With a screeching sound, Critchlear 3 was completely dissolved by the super acid. Although there were still some parts of his body that were not easily corroded that did not dissolve immediately, it was only a matter of time before they dissolved. Meanwhile, at the central base of Firewolf Island, Dr. Benjamin's surveillance device let out an ear-piercing buzzing sound. The signal transmitter was dissolved by the super acid and Dr. Benjamin lost contact with Critchlear 3. At this moment, no matter how stupid Dr. Benjamin was, he knew that the enemy had killed Critchlear 3. Although he could not see what method the enemy had used, Critchlear 3 was really done for. Dr. Benjamin could not believe it. He was done for just like that. At first, he was full of confidence that Critchlear 3, who did not have any weaknesses, would be able to complete the purchase mission this time. However, the result was very disappointing. He had failed in the end. The plan that he and Old Scorpion had racked their brains to come up with was completely useless in front of the enemy. The enemy seemed to know that Fictional 3 was a super Iron Man. They did not try to shoot him with armor-piercing bullets. Instead, they tied Fictional 3 up in a prepared location and killed him. But, how did they do it? And how did they predict that a super Iron Man would appear? It seemed like the abandoned farm in the western suburbs that the enemy had gone to was a place that they had already found and prepared beforehand. They knew how to kill Fictional 3. They did not even try and directly killed Fictional 3 in one move. This meant that not only did the enemy know that Dr. Benjamin had sent a super Iron Man with no weaknesses this time, but they had already thought of countermeasures. Although Dr. Benjamin did not want to believe it, he had to admit that the enemy was like a worm in his stomach. Whatever he wanted to do, the enemy could predict it one step ahead of him. If not for the fact that Dr. Benjamin did not believe in divination, he would have thought that someone knew how to deduce the stars. This was simply too amazing. Whatever he was preparing to do, the enemy had already prepared countermeasures in advance. This was the worst thing in the world. You had been busy for half a day, but the enemy had already dealt with it. How could you fight them? Perhaps Dr. Benjamin thought that the enemy over there was another him, a clone of himself. Otherwise, why would the enemy know what he was thinking? But Dr. Benjamin was a scientist. He felt that this was not scientific. The only explanation was that the enemy was very strong and could determine the person in the center in a short time and make countermeasures. Phew. Dr. Benjamin took a deep breath. The situation was unprecedentedly serious. For the first time, he felt a sense of helplessness and fear. The enemy was too strong. He was not a match at all. Until now, he did not even know who the enemy was. He had been defeated time and time again. It was like a nightmare. Siren. Go get Siren. Dr. Benjamin was a little crazy as he ordered Old Mule. Yes, Doctor. Old Mule nodded and went to get his disciple Siren according to Dr. Benjamin's instructions. After a while, Old Mule brought Siren to Dr. Benjamin's office. Doctor, you were looking for me. Siren asked carefully. Siren, go take a helicopter immediately and buy medicine and reagents. Dr. Benjamin ordered. I don't believe that the enemy can get a helicopter in such a short time. Also, don't go to Las Vegas Beach Town. Fly the helicopter and go to another state to buy chemicals. Also, don't come back personally. After you buy the medicine, send a member of the center to come back in a helicopter and throw it in the air. I will send an automatic speedboat to retrieve it. Chapter 23:19. Dr. Benjamin's plan was perfect. He did not let the peripheral members know the specific location of the center. He just let them throw something at sea, and then send a speedboat to pick them up. This way, the location of the center could not be exposed, and he could also get chemical reagents and drugs. The most important thing was that Siren had been outside and could help buy the drugs that Dr. Benjamin needed at any time. The number and quality of these drugs were only known by Dr. Benjamin's close confidants. Yes. After Siren received the order, he nodded immediately and quickly followed Big Mule to prepare the helicopter. In Dr. Benjamin's view, the opponent was currently in the small town of Las Vegas Beach, and Siren went to other states, so it was impossible to be attacked by the enemy. Moreover, he took a helicopter, not a speedboat. It was much more difficult for the opponent to snipe him. It had to be said that Dr. Benjamin had come up with a relatively perfect plan in his madness. This plan made Yang Ming, who had just killed Crier 3, really helpless. It could be said that Dr. Benjamin had caught Yang Ming off guard, but there was no other way. Yang Ming really could not get a helicopter so quickly. He could only let the people sent by Dr. Benjamin leave first, so, when Yang Ming told Dong Jun about this matter, Dong Jun was a little annoyed. I knew that Dr. Benjamin had a helicopter, but I didn't expect him to really use it. It's my fault. I was blinded by the previous victory. This time, he took advantage of the time difference. The helicopter did not pass by Las Vegas Beach. We really couldn't stop it. Forget it. No one is perfect. It's impossible to have a perfect plan. Yang Ming waved his hand, but he was not worried. If you can't stop it, then don't stop it. If you don't stop it, won't he succeed in the purchase? We can't give Dr. Benjamin those chemicals and reagents. Otherwise, he will invent some new powerful things to deal with us. Said Dong Jun. He left, but can he come back? Yang Ming smiled and said, you go and get a few helicopters now, as well as some rocket launchers and sniper rifles. We will not let him come back. After his people buy the chemicals and drugs, they have to take the helicopters to transport them back, right? At that time, we will directly destroy their helicopters so that they can't come back at all. What's the use of buying more chemicals and drugs? Yes. Dong Jun heard Yang Ming's words and suddenly realized he went to buy them, but whether he can come back or not, it depends on us. It doesn't matter if their people are gone. The most important thing is whether the chemical reagents and drugs can be transported back. We will wait here and kill whoever comes. Dr. Benjamin will be anxious to death. Yes, he just took advantage of a loophole. It won't happen next time. Yang Ming said with a smile, right, let me get the helicopters and weapons. All right. Dong Jun nodded and said, after all, helicopters are not particularly popular, especially military helicopters that are suitable for naval combat. It is easy to be discovered if you steal this thing. It is safer to get it yourself. Yang Ming also thought so. Although it was unrealistic for ordinary people to buy helicopters and firearms, Yang Ming was different. Yang Ming directly called Old Buffon and told him about his needs. Old Buffon readily agreed and promised Yang Ming that the helicopters and firearms would be sent to Las Vegas Beach town by tomorrow afternoon at the latest. At this moment, Yin Siren had already left by helicopter, but Yang Ming did not use X-ray vision to follow him at all. First, he went to a place far away. Yang Ming could not watch where he went every day without sleeping. Then, he was afraid that Yang Ming would not be able to hold on. Second, as long as he guarded the air near the center and prevented their things from being transported, he would achieve his goal. He did not care where Yin Siren went. Yang Ming disdained to follow and observe such a small character without any martial arts and strength. Done. Go back and rest. The things will be delivered tomorrow. Yang Ming smiled and said to Dong Jun, awesome. It was done so quickly. Dong Jun gave a thumbs up in admiration. The next morning, before the afternoon, Yang Ming received a call from Old Buffon. 10 armed helicopters painted as civilian helicopters were shipped over. At least from the outside, there was nothing special about these helicopters, but the interior was modified and suitable for combat use. This was also thanks to Old Buffon's family originally having a helicopter production factory. When Yang Ming's father's Mingyang Heavy Industry produced helicopters, it was also Old Buffon who provided the production line and technology, so this was easy for Old Buffon. As for those weapons, it was even easier. Old Buffon was originally an arms dealer. Many things were ready-made. As for the less common ones, he could get them from other arms dealers as soon as possible. Of course, this was only the first batch. Later, Old Buffon would help Yang Ming replenish ammunition at any time because Yang Ming also knew that the confrontation with Dr. Benjamin was a long war, so he must prepare enough ammunition and materials. After Yin Siren left, there was no news for a long time. He must have gone to a very far place. At least last time, because of Jean Lauscher's incident, Ian Siren escaped death. This time, he would not be so stupid to appear near the beach of Las Vegas. That was why he went to a place very, very far away. Moreover, he was not stupid. After arranging for the local peripheral personnel to buy the chemical reagents and medicine, he told them the airdrop location. After that, he turned to another city. This way of going back and forth really made it impossible for Yang Ming to track him. Yang Ming still paid attention to him at first, but he couldn't always watch him, right? Then, would Dr. Benjamin still be monitored? So, Yang Ming simply gave up on monitoring Ian Siren and put his eyes on the helicopter in the air. 2 days later, a helicopter flew directly from the direction of another beach to the direction of center. This was the helicopter arranged by Ian Siren. It carried the chemicals and drugs needed by Dr. Benjamin. The pilot of the helicopter was a peripheral member of the Central. Although he didn't know why he had to drop the package containing the chemicals and medicine into the vast sea, he still followed the Central's instructions and set the destination of the helicopter in the middle of the vast sea. Chapter 23:20. This morning, he came to the sea near the beach of Las Vegas. He contacted Dr. Benjamin and told him that he could reach the designated location by noon today. Dr. Benjamin was also glad that Ian Siren had escaped successfully. At the same time, he was very happy that he could get the chemical reagents and medicine immediately. It seemed that choosing the helicopter this time was the right choice. The opponent was probably only active on the beach of Las Vegas, and could not stop the helicopter. Dr. Benjamin prayed in his heart. It would be best if the opponent did not find out about the helicopter. As long as the opponent did not find out, he could always use this method in the future. However, this time, Dr. Benjamin was happy too early, because Yang Ming and Dong Jun had already flown the helicopter and appeared near the destination specified by Dr. Benjamin. In the distance, Yang Ming found that the target helicopter was approaching, so he said directly to Dong Jun, 10 o'clock, full speed ahead. I found the target. Okay. Operating the helicopter was a piece of cake for Dong Jun. He followed Yang Ming's instructions and drove the helicopter at full speed to the direction indicated by Yang Ming. The peripheral member of Central did not know that a lot of things had happened in Central during this time. He was happy that Dr. Benjamin trusted him. He delivered supplies to Central headquarters. Although he did not deliver them to Central's base, at least he was close to Central's core secret. In the future, he would definitely become Central's confidant. However, he was happily fantasizing in his heart. Suddenly, there was a loud noise that shocked him. This was his last thought in the world. Because after that, the helicopter exploded and turned into a fireball. It quickly fell from the sky, fell into the sea, and disappeared without a trace. Yang Ming put away the rocket launcher and smiled slightly. This weapon is quite handy. One shot to the fuel tank. I guess Dr. Benjamin is going to explode. Dong Jun said with a smile. During this time, he was used to this kind of shock. The shock that Yang Ming brought to him during this time was too strong. This was simply driving Dr. Benjamin crazy. Dong Jun's guess was right. Dr. Benjamin was really crazy. Although Dr. Benjamin did not see the helicopter explode, he heard the loud bang in the monitoring room of Central. Needless to say, something must have happened to the helicopter. Holy shit! Dr. Benjamin was really helpless. He did not expect the enemy to react so quickly. Ian Siren successfully left the center, but the helicopter transporting the supplies was intercepted. From the looks of it, the route of transporting supplies from the outside was also mercilessly blocked. Not only was the opponent strong, but he also had a lot of energy. In such a short time, he was able to get a helicopter to fight against his own people. It seemed that the opponent's ability was not to be underestimated. What puzzled Dr. Benjamin the most was, how did the other party know that Ian's siren had left in a helicopter from the center? And how did the opponent know that the helicopter that was transporting the supplies would fly back today and drop the supplies from the mouth? One had to know that the appearance of this helicopter was no different from a civilian helicopter. It was not special at all. The destination of the helicopter was not the Fire Wolf Island of the central base, but the vast sea. It was not that there were no helicopters passing by the nearby sea area. On the contrary, there were a few private helicopters or planes passing by every month. When these planes passed by, they did not seem to be attacked. However, the helicopter in the center was attacked. As soon as it flew over, it was destroyed and sunk. Dr. Benjamin simply could not understand this. It was too aggrieved, too aggrieved. What the hell is going on? Dr. Benjamin roared at Old Scorpion. Doctor, I'm not sure. Old Scorpion said with a bitter smile, the opponent seems to be very powerful. They can always predict the future. No matter what we do, no matter how we prepare, the opponent can accurately see through our plans. Previously, Ian's siren was able to leave by plane because he took a helicopter. The opponent was caught off guard and didn't have time to prepare a helicopter. Moreover, Ian's siren left in another direction and didn't go to the Las Vegas beach. I'm afraid that even if the opponent had a helicopter, they wouldn't be able to catch up. However, the helicopter escorting the supplies is different. The opponent can wait nearby and intercept it. In other words, when we first sent the helicopter to let Ian's siren leave, the opponent actually knew about it. It was just that he left in the opposite direction to the Las Vegas beach, so the opponent wanted to intercept but did not have the strength to do so. Dr. Benjamin asked. That should be the case. It's not that they did not want to intercept, it's that they did not have the time to do so. Old Scorpion said, but it's different for the helicopter escorting the supplies. The opponent can intercept it in advance. Sigh. Dr. Benjamin sighed deeply, a little helpless. It was as if he had suddenly aged many years. During this period of time, he was really helpless, frustrated, and powerless. Doctor, I think that the most important thing now is to find out the identity of the opponent, not send people to buy chemicals and medicine. Because no matter how many people we send, I'm afraid the result will be the same. They will all be intercepted and killed. Old Scorpion said, only when we find out the identity of the opponent can we know ourselves and win every battle. Find the opponent's weakness and choose the most appropriate way to attack. Otherwise, if we don't even know who the enemy is, how are we going to fight against them? You're right. Dr. Benjamin nodded and said in agreement, now we don't know the opponent. It is indeed very blind to fight like this. Only when we find out the identity of the opponent can we deal with the right situation. Otherwise, we will be led by the nose by the opponent. Yes, so I suggest that we suspend the current plan and let the peripheral members of Central fully investigate the identity of the opponent. Of course, we will start with the cause of death of Jetson and Kevin. Old Scorpion said. Okay, I'll leave this matter to you. Follow up on it. Dr. Benjamin nodded, it just so happens that I also take a break. Let the opponent wander around first. Let them wander around blindly for a while. It's also a good thing to torment them. Of course, what Dr. Benjamin did not expect was that his words were clearly seen by Yang Ming. He wants to torment Yang Ming. That's impossible. Chapter 23-21. Since he was resting, Yang Ming and Dong Jun were also preparing to rest. If they didn't send out their men, Yang Ming and Dong Jun didn't need to wander around this area. The two of them took the helicopter directly back home and prepared to rest for a while. However, Dr. Benjamin's words also made Yang Ming a little worried. After all, if Dr. Benjamin was really determined to investigate the cause of death of Jetson and Kevin, the cause of death of those two people would not be able to withstand the investigation at all. Jetson went to help the Lancer family, and the reason why the Lancer family was destroyed could be found with a deeper investigation. It was because they stood up for the Douglas family. Who did the Douglas family offend? As long as one went to Butterfly Town to inquire, one would know that the person the Douglas family offended was the Butterfly family. From the Butterfly family's clues, it was not difficult to find Yang Ming. Therefore, as long as Dr. Benjamin was willing to put in the effort to investigate, it was easy to find out the real cause of Jetson's death. The same was true for Kevin. Kevin was killed in Las Vegas at that time. At that time, Yang Ming was cooperating with the Fat Man to hunt down Li Dianqi in Las Vegas. The time of Yang Ming's death coincided with Kevin's death. With Dr. Benjamin's ability, he could plant a spy in the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. It was certainly not difficult to investigate the coincidence of Yang Ming and Kevin during this period of time. At that time, when the two things were combined, it could be determined that Yang Ming was the person who killed Kevin and Jetson. Thinking of this, Yang Ming regretted that he shouldn't have said those words to Cranier. It was actually heard by Dr. Benjamin. But it didn't matter. It didn't have a big impact on Yang Ming. Anyway, Dr. Benjamin would know his identity sooner or later. It was only a matter of time before he knew it. However, Yang Ming had to do something first before Dr. Benjamin found out his identity. That was, he had to protect the safety of his family. Yang Ming was afraid that Elder Yu wouldn't be able to deal with him, but he would deal with his family. That wouldn't be fun. After all, Yang Ming was in Las Vegas. It was impossible for him to pay attention to the situation in Songjiang City at any time. Therefore, after Elder Yu made the decision to investigate him, Yang Ming immediately called the Fat Man of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. "Fatty, it's me, Yang Ming." Yang Ming went straight to the point. "Brother Yang, why are you calling me? Didn't you go to do something big?" Fatty was a little surprised when he received Yang Ming's call. This was because Yang Ming had said that after leaving, he would not contact him for a long time. "Fatty, I have something to trouble you with," said Yang Ming. "Oh. Just tell me what you need." Fatty agreed without hesitation. "Send someone to protect my parents and family. The enemies on my side may want to deal with me, so I have to take precautions in advance just in case," said Yang Ming. "Okay, no problem. Do your women need me to protect them?" Fatty nodded and asked. "Also send someone to protect them secretly. Although there should be no big problem with Yen Yen and Victoria, they have more people after all," said Yang Ming. "Okay, I will send someone to follow up secretly," said the Fat Man. "And I will also let my master leave the mountain and move to my parents' villa. There should be no big problem with safety at that time. You just need to assist," said Yang Ming. "Okay, no problem." Fatty patted his chest and promised. After Yang Ming called the Fat Man, he dialed Fong Tian's number. "Old man Fong, it's me," said Yang Ming. "You brat, you left for so long and didn't call. I thought you and Dong Jun hung up together." Fong Tian picked up the phone and said indifferently, "Damn, can't you think of something better?" Yang Ming was a little dumbfounded, but Fong Tian had such a character. "Hee, what good thing can you find me for? Tell me, what do you want me to do?" Fong Tian understood Yang Ming and directly understood Yang Ming's purpose. "This, in fact, the matter is like this. I want you to go to my house and live with my parents for a while to protect them. I am afraid that here, Central will send people to deal with them." Yang Ming said, "After all, you and Master's wife are masters, and Yen Yen also lives next door. Master's wife will definitely be willing to see her often. Brat, don't use your master's wife as an excuse. If you want me to be a bodyguard, just say it. Why do you have so many reasons? Fong Tian snorted. Hee, master, so you agree. Yang Ming was suddenly happy. Of course, I haven't gone out for a long time. It's just right to bring your master's wife around. Fong Tian said, okay, you don't have to worry about it. I will keep an eye on your house. As long as it's not two abnormal people, I can help you get rid of them. Thank you, master. Yang Ming said with joy. Well, how are you and Dong Jun? Is it going well over there? What's the progress? Fong Tian asked. Let Dong Jun talk to you. I'm not good at bragging. Yang Ming smiled and handed the phone to Dong Jun. You tell master about the recent situation. Okay. Dong Jun smiled and took the phone. To be honest, he was bored to death recently. Yang Ming won again and again. He was really happy from the bottom of his heart. After being oppressed and restrained by Central for so many years, he didn't expect that when he went against Central, it was Yang Ming who had the upper hand and played Dr. Benjamin. Dr. Benjamin's unattainable image that could only be revered collapsed in Dong Jun's heart. The man of steel, who used to be invincible in his eyes, was just like garbage in the eyes of Yang Ming. He could kill them at will. Moreover, what made Dong Jun most excited was that Yang Ming had already killed 2 men of steel before going to Miaojiang. What kind of record was this? It was simply incredible. Dong Jun had long wanted to talk to others, but he couldn't simply talk about it in order to keep it a secret. The only one who did this was Yang Ming. Dong Jun couldn't brag with him because this was done by Yang Ming. To brag with Yang Ming also needed to have the mood and time to listen. In Dong Jun's view, Yang Ming was actually very busy. Besides eating and sleeping every day, the rest of the time was observing the movements of Dr. Benjamin and Central. He was afraid that he would miss something. Especially after Een Siren, a small character, escaped from Central, Yang Ming was even more careful. He didn't miss any details. Dong Jun took the phone and began to tell Fong Tian about the recent events. Although there was not much exaggeration and it was just the truth, it had already made Fong Tian stunned. Chapter 23-22. Fong Tian didn't expect that his apprentice would be so powerful. Originally, in his opinion, Yang Ming and Dong Jun could find some clues about Central in a year and a half. It was good enough to create a small incident and a small conflict. He didn't expect that Yang Ming had actually gone against Central with great fanfare. Not only did he kill a few of Central's Iron Men, but he also forced Dr. Benjamin to jump in anger. This was simply a one-sided blow. In the end, Fong Tian had to say the word impressed and sighed. There are really talents in every generation, and each generation is stronger than the previous. Yang Ming is more powerful than me. Dong Jun, with Yang Ming around, your matter can be settled. Central is finished. This was Fong Tian's evaluation of Dong Jun. It made Dong Jun happy, and his mood was better. However, Yang Ming's defensive work also reminded Dong Jun. He didn't have anything to worry about, but he was mainly worried about Alice's situation. Although he had severed ties with Central, Alice had yet to do anything to Central. After all, although Dong Jun and Alice were siblings, for Central, it didn't matter whether they were siblings or not. The main thing was whether they were loyal to Central, and Alice was one of Central's sources of income, so Dr. Benjamin did not make a move on Alice for the time being. However, this did not mean that after Dr. Benjamin investigated the previous series of events were done by Yang Ming and Dong Jun, he would vent his unhappiness on Alice. That would be a bit fucked up, so Dong Jun had to take precautions in advance. Therefore, after the call with Fong Tian, Dong Jun dialed Alice's phone again. "Little AI, it's me, Dong Jun," said Dong Jun. "Aw, brother, how are you?" Recently, Alice had been paying attention to Central's situation. She also knew that her brother had broken off with Central, but during this time, she had lost contact with Dong Jun because she was afraid that Central would find out. Although she also heard about the Central from her own sources, several of Dr. Benjamin's Iron Men and his men were killed, and he was very angry. Alice didn't know if it was her brother who did it, but she was still very happy. That was because her brother had broken ties with Central. Although she was still feigning civility with Central on the surface, she had long been prepared to break ties with Central. She had already begun to secretly transfer the industries in her hands to her own name, preparing for her own escape route. As long as her brother openly declared war against the Central, she would completely cut off all ties with the Central. After all, Alice had been in charge of the business in Europe for a very long time. She had managed the business until it was impregnable. And Central had never considered the possibility of Alice betraying them. Before this, even if those who betrayed them ran to the ends of the earth, no matter how powerful their bodyguards were, they could not escape the pursuit of Central's Iron Men. Therefore, Dr. Benjamin used to be arrogant and confident. He would not restrain his subordinates too much because he felt that they would not dare to betray him. Betrayal meant death. Of course, Dong Jun was an exception. It was also from Dong Jun's incident that Dr. Benjamin realized that he was wrong. The Iron Men that he was so proud of were useless at all. Not only that, he was now stuck on Firewolf Island. No matter who left Central, they would be killed. The opponent had reached the point of knowing Central like the back of his hand. This made Dr. Benjamin crazy. Of course, what Dr. Benjamin didn't know was that he still had a chance. After all, Yang Ming was not a robot. He also had to eat and sleep. It was impossible for him to monitor every move of Central all the time. If they calculated the time well and figured out the pattern of Yang Ming's rest, then they could secretly send people out when Yang Ming was sleeping. In this way, they might be able to take advantage of the loophole. But Dr. Benjamin didn't think in this direction at all. He was a science madman. In his eyes, there was only high-tech. Therefore, he naturally thought that the enemy also had high-tech and could monitor their every move at any time. As long as they reacted, the enemy would respond directly. There was no such thing as rest time. After all, why would machines need rest? Therefore, Dr. Benjamin could only bide his time and begin to investigate the cause of Jetson's and Kevin's deaths. "I'm fine. We have started to attack Dr. Benjamin and Central," Dong Jun said. "At present, the plan is going well." "Ah. So, during this period of time, all the major events that happened at Central were done by you guys?" Although Alice had previously guessed that all this might be done by Dong Jun and Yang Ming, it was a bit too shocking after all. In Alice's opinion, Dong Jun had always been the object of Central's oppression and fear. How did the tables turn all of a sudden? He directly made Dr. Benjamin at a loss. "Yeah, but to be exact, your brother didn't make any contributions. I was just an assistant. The one who did all this was Yang Ming." Dong Jun didn't boast and said directly, "How is it? Are you shocked?" "A little shocked, but also a little not shocked." After Alice listened to Dong Jun's words, Yang Ming's figure appeared in her eyes again. A figure that she couldn't get rid of. At first, she wanted to assassinate Yang Ming, but she failed. Instead, she had a little ambiguous relationship with Yang Ming. Then, this figure appeared in Alice's heart. She didn't want her brother to go against Yang Ming, but she couldn't do anything because of Central's matter. After all, when her brother dealt with Yang Ming, he also wanted to get Yang Ming's power to deal with Central. However, although Alice promised to help, she had been holding back. including the assassination of Yang Ming. She found an assassin who was not good at close-range assassination. These were actually very obvious. How could Dong Jun not see it? He just didn't want to believe it before, but now after hearing Alice's words, Dong Jun suddenly understood Alice's thoughts. Little AI, in fact, it is the best choice for me to rely on Yang Ming. Even my master said that Dr. Benjamin is finished, yeah, Yang Ming is actually very powerful. At this moment, Alice was more like a little woman yearning for love. If we can all get rid of Central's control smoothly, definitely. At that time, we will go to Yang Ming's island to settle down and eat and drink. I will rely on you for the rest of my life. Dong Jun laughed. Rely on me? Rely on me for what? Alice's pretty face turned red. How could she not understand Dong Jun's hint? Chapter 23:23. Let's not talk about it. On your side, get rid of the property in your hands as soon as possible, change it into cash, and then hire more bodyguards around you. I am afraid that Dr. Benjamin will deal with you. Dong Jun instructed Alice. Okay, I will. Alice nodded in response. She knew that her brother and Yang Ming were probably going to openly fight with Dr. Benjamin soon, so she had to take the most appropriate countermeasures. She couldn't drag Dong Jun and Yang Ming down. Otherwise, if something went wrong on her side and affected the overall plan, then she would be a great sinner. Dong Jun hung up the phone and breathed a sigh of relief. On Yang Ming's side, he was also relieved. On this side, he was always paying attention to the movements of the central base, Fire Wolf Island. As long as he ensured that Dr. Benjamin and the Steel Men did not go out, then there would be no problem. As for the peripheral members of the central base, they were only at the level of Dong Jun. Dong Jun was considered to be better among them. These people could not pose any threat to his family. After all, these people were just ordinary people. In the eyes of Wang Xiaoyan, Victoria, Fang Tian, and Wang Ruoxue, they were too insignificant to cause too much trouble, so Yang Ming didn't have to worry about anything anymore. On this side, as long as they focused on dealing with Dr. Benjamin, it would be fine. In the past few days, there was no movement on Dr. Benjamin's side. He did not send anyone out of the central base, nor did he send anyone to transport supplies from the outside to the central base. It was calm as if he had forgotten about this matter. This made Yang Ming and Dong Jun quite idle. Although sometimes Dr. Benjamin contacted people from the outside, and Yang Ming didn't see what he said, it didn't matter. As long as the movements near the central base were monitored, it didn't matter whether Dr. Benjamin's people came out or not. On this day, Dr. Benjamin seemed to be unable to hold back. He was still testing Yang Ming. Through Een Siren, he sent a helicopter with chemical reagents and medicines to the sea near the central base to prepare to airdrop these supplies. Of course, this was also Dr. Benjamin's wishful thinking. He had been dormant for almost half a month. In his opinion, if the enemy relaxed their vigilance during this time, they might really be able to slip through. However, ideals were good, but reality was cruel. Dr. Benjamin's people smoothly flew the helicopter to the nearby sea. In fact, although Yang Ming had time to sleep every day, the first thing Yang Ming did after waking up or going to the bathroom in the middle of the night was to monitor whether there were speedboats and helicopters near the sea. He was also afraid that Elder Yu would launch a surprise attack without him noticing. So, this morning, Yang Ming saw the helicopter flying from afar. Yang Ming would scan the things on the helicopter flying from afar. When Yang Ming saw the familiar chemicals and reagents, Yang Ming smiled slightly and said to Dong Jun, "We should move again. There is something to do." After all, if it was just a few days of leisure, he would still feel very comfortable and relaxed. But after so long, there was nothing to do. Especially in the past few days, there were often intense battles, which made Dong Jun miss those days even more. But after all, if it was just a few days of leisure, he would feel very comfortable and relaxed. But after so long, there was nothing to do, especially in the past few days. There were often intense battles, which made Dong Jun miss those days even more. At this time, Yang Ming said that there was something to do again. Dong Jun was naturally very excited, and he was ready soon. What are we doing today? Hee, in fact, it's nothing. It's just killing another helicopter. Yang Ming shrugged and said, it's a very simple thing. That's it. It's not exciting at all. Dong Jun couldn't help but smile bitterly after listening. It was just killing a helicopter. This was an easy thing for him and Yang Ming. There was nothing exciting about it. However, this was better than nothing. Dong Jun and Yang Ming went out of the motel together, drove directly to the place where the helicopter was parked, boarded the helicopter, and went straight to the sea. Where is it? Asked Dong Jun. It's still far away. It will probably take about half a day to fly here. Yang Ming looked and said, if you are in a hurry, we can catch up with it ourselves now and then do it. Alright, I can't wait. Dong Jun nodded and drove the helicopter, flying in the direction that Yang Ming instructed. The two helicopters flew at the same time, so the distance between them was naturally much closer. About a few hours later, the opponent's helicopter had entered the range of Yang Ming's rocket launcher. This was the high seas, and there were no people at all, so Yang Ming was not afraid of being seen using a heavy weapon like a rocket launcher. Anyway, by the time someone found out and rushed over, they would have already left and disappeared without a trace. Moreover, it was not easy to find the launch location of the rocket launcher from such a long distance, especially when the opponent's helicopter directly exploded and fell into the sea. As long as Dr. Benjamin did not pursue it, no one would continue to pursue it. Boom! With a loud noise, Yang Ming's rocket launcher hit the target. The opponent's helicopter instantly turned into a big fireball and fell into the sea. The people on the helicopter, as well as the chemicals and reagents on it, were all finished. This situation made Yang Ming smile slightly. Done, return. AI, it's really not exciting. It's so easy to solve. Dong Jun smiled bitterly and said, it's Dr. Benjamin's tragedy to face a superbug like you. He can't win at all. You can't say that. In fact, we are more likely to be lucky. After all, if I didn't see it, there would still be some fish that escaped the net. But I think Dr. Benjamin didn't know how we found his people. Otherwise, according to the time difference, there would always be 1 or 2 fish that escaped the net, said Yang Ming. That's true, but Dr. Benjamin would never have dreamed that you had such a special ability. Dong Jun said. That's true. If he knew, he wouldn't let you investigate my special ability. Yang Ming nodded. Yang Ming returned, but he lost contact with the helicopter. Dr. Benjamin, who found that the helicopter fell directly into the sea, was furious. It seemed that the opponent did not let him go at all. Instead, he had been observing him in secret. His every plan would be seen through by the opponent in advance. For example, this time, Dr. Benjamin thought that after being dormant for half a month, he would make a sneak attack again. Chapter 23-24. Dr. Benjamin thought that he would secretly send another inconspicuous helicopter, but he didn't expect that the helicopter would be killed before it could fly to the area where the center was located. From the outside, no one would have been able to see the flight path of the plane at that time, but the enemy had figured it out and killed it very decisively. This made Dr. Benjamin even more cautious while he was angry. It seemed that the other party did have this kind of predictive ability. Otherwise, why would the other party be able to immediately kill his people when he took action? The only oversight was when Ian's siren took the helicopter to leave the center. The other party probably also found out, but they couldn't find the helicopter for a while, so they let Ian's siren go. Therefore, after this incident, Dr. Benjamin didn't dare to act rashly. He began to wait for news, waiting for the peripheral members of the center to investigate the cause of death of Jetson and Kevin. Finally, the peripheral members of the center sent back the results of the investigation, and the results were the same as Yang Ming's previous guess and inference. All the evidence pointed to Yang Ming. Whether it was Jetson or Kevin, Yang Ming was present when they died. Yang Ming had been to Lancer Town, and Yang Ming had also been to Las Vegas City. At that time, it happened to be the time when Jetson and Kevin died. Therefore, coupled with the sudden disappearance of Yang Ming and Dong Jun, it was certain that the enemy hiding in the dark, who had repeatedly made Dr. Benjamin angry, was undoubtedly Yang Ming. Yang Ming. It's you, kid. Dr. Benjamin looked at the information sent by his subordinates and gritted his teeth angrily. He almost vomited blood. Why, Dong Jun, you traitor. You actually colluded with Yang Ming to go against me. You're simply tired of living. Dr. Benjamin, please calm down. Now, we know that Yang Ming is our opponent, which is actually a good thing. There's no need to be angry. Old Scorpion said, at least, we have a direction. We can know who has repeatedly gone against us, and we can also make some corresponding plans. And, tell me, what should we do next? Dr. Benjamin nodded and asked Old Scorpion. Now, our first step should be to force Yang Ming out and let him contact us. First, we should ask him what his purpose is. Old Scorpion said, there is no hatred for no reason in this world. Yang Ming can't be so free as to go against us. Does he have nothing better to do? Instead of going home to his wife, he came here specifically to go against us and attack us. Is it because he has no enemies, he can't stay idle and look for trouble? That's right. Why is this guy going against us? Dr. Benjamin nodded and frowned. You're right. Yang Ming can't be so idle that he has nothing better to do. He just came here to make trouble for us. He just defeated Elder Yu and Miaojiang. He should be resting at home. Why does he have to go against me? Unless he is really a battle maniac. But judging from the information collected about Yang Ming in the past, it doesn't seem like it. He should be a person who is going to live in seclusion. I think it's because of Dong Jun. Dong Jun wants to betray us, but he's afraid that you'll go against him, so he made the first move. But I don't know how he managed to convince Yang Ming to go against you and Yang Ming together. Old Scorpion analyzed. But maybe it's because Yang Ming knows that you're going against him, and he's a vengeful person. After killing Elder Yu, he's coming for you. Yang Ming seems to be very strong now, and his confidence is inflated. He thinks that he's invincible. Dr. Benjamin nodded and said, how's Alice? Since we've confirmed that it's Yang Ming and Dong Jun's doing, we can't do anything to them. But we can attack their families and force them to come out. I'll get someone to contact Alice right away. Old Scorpion nodded. Anything else, Professor? No need. Just get someone to kill her and take back her assets. Dr. Benjamin said. Then get someone to cause trouble for Yang Ming's family. His parents, his woman, get someone to assassinate them all. Who dares to assassinate my people? I'll let Yang Ming have a taste of his own medicine this time. Yes, Professor. I'll get someone to do this right away. Old Scorpion nodded. But Yang Ming saw the conversation between Dr. Benjamin and Old Scorpion. Yang Ming saw everything clearly, and after reading it, he smiled faintly and told Dong Jun what he saw. Oh. He found out, and is preparing to attack our families. Dong Jun raised an eyebrow and said unhappily. Yes, but luckily we anticipated it and made countermeasures. I think he'll be disappointed. Yang Ming nodded with a smile. Hee, it's a tragedy for Dr. Benjamin to meet you. From the beginning to the end, he didn't have any advantage at all. Tragedy, 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 Dong Jun said. We can't be careless. Although we're in the lead now, and we're suppressing Dr. Benjamin, no one can be sure that he doesn't have any tricks up his sleeve. We have to be careful. Yang Ming didn't let the victory get to his head. He was still calm. That's true. Dong Jun nodded quickly. Yang Ming continued to watch Dr. Benjamin's movements. The result was not out of Yang Ming's expectations. After a while, Old Scorpion came back with a depressed face. He came in front of Dr. Benjamin and said with a look of defeat, Dr. Benjamin, it's not good. Alice can't be contacted. What? Alice can't be contacted. Dr. Benjamin suddenly frowned after hearing this. It seems that the person has run away. Our enemies are definitely Dong Jun and Yang Ming. Arrange for someone to take care of the businesses in Alice's hands first. Doctor, there are no properties left. Those properties have long been secretly sold by Alice. Old Scorpion said with a bitter smile. Our people found out that those businesses had changed owners. Alice has been planning to make a move for a long time, already made a move. Dr. Benjamin was stunned and then said angrily, that bitch. That central source of income, how could she sell it? Have our people discussed this with the buyers? Can they get the businesses back? Chapter 23-25. How is that possible? Old Scorpion shrugged helplessly. Our people investigated and found out that those properties were taken over by some local celebrities. There's no way we can get them back. And those properties were registered under Alice's name at the time. The transfer agreement was written in black and white. We have no reason to do that. Back then, Central wanted to keep it a secret. Naturally, it was impossible for those properties to fall under someone else's name. And Alice was one of the spokespersons for Central. But Dr. Benjamin never thought that Alice would betray him because there was no precedent. What he didn't expect was that he was one step too late. Alice had betrayed him. Fuck. Dr. Benjamin couldn't help but curse again. He almost went berserk. This is a scam. I've been scammed again. He said unwillingly, can you find Alice? It's not easy at the moment. And if we don't send people out, those outer members are all doing their own jobs. They're not good at looking for Alice. Old Scorpion said. And I think that Alice has most likely gone to Dong Jun and Yang Ming. We don't have to waste our energy looking for her. Okay, how's Yang Ming's family? Dr. Benjamin asked. We've sent people over. I believe we'll have news soon. Old Scorpion said. I'll let our people kill a few, catch a few, and make Yang Ming's heart ache. Very good. Dr. Benjamin's anger subsided a little. He took a deep breath and said, then we'll wait for the good news. Listening to the conversation between Dr. Benjamin and Old Scorpion, Yang Ming couldn't help but laugh coldly. It seemed that Dr. Benjamin was really cruel. He actually wanted to use this against him. Luckily, he was prepared. And Dr. Benjamin's outer members couldn't do anything to his family. Sure enough, a few hours later, Old Scorpion received news from Central in Songjiang City. The outer members of Central who were good at assassination were all killed. Not only did they not do anything to Yang Ming's family, but they were also killed by Yang Ming's family. Old Scorpion quickly told this unfortunate news to Dr. Benjamin. Dr. Benjamin almost cried when he heard it. But after listening to Old Scorpion's explanation, he calmed down a little. He neglected a few people. Although Yang Ming had left, Wang Xiaoyan, Victoria, Fang Tian, and Wang Ruoxue were with Yang Ming's family. Moreover, there were people from the Supernatural Investigation Bureau who were secretly responsible for the safety of these people. Under these circumstances, it wasn't strange that Dr. Benjamin's outer members were all killed. These people didn't die in vain at all. It seems that Yang Ming and Dong Jun have made arrangements. Before they dealt with us, they had already arranged for their family. We have no way to do anything to their family. We have to find a breakthrough point from Yang Ming and Dong Jun. Dr. Benjamin said with a sigh. Yeah, even if we know the identity of the enemy, we can't do anything. Old Scorpion said bitterly. This was the first time he felt that Central's power was so weak after following Dr. Benjamin for so long. Everything they did was tied up, and he and Dr. Benjamin were in a very passive position. Sigh, the key is that the chemical reagents and drugs can't be transported in. If they can be transported in, we can continue to develop more powerful biohumans to deal with Yang Ming. Even if these biohumans can't do it, we can create more powerful super steel biohumans that can fight better than Iron Men and biohumans. The body uses a new type of harder metal. Although it can't be mass-produced and is only a conceptual model at the moment, I believe that as long as we have time, we can develop it successfully. Dr. Benjamin said unwillingly. But now, not only do we not have the chemical reagents and drugs, but we also don't have the new type of metal materials. We can only wait for death. If this goes on, we'll really be suffocated to death. Doctor, I know the situation, but there is really no good way. We can't get hold of Yang Ming's weakness, but we can't do anything to Yang Ming. Most importantly, Alice and Dong Jun betrayed us, but why did they drag Yang Ming into this? Old Scorpion said helplessly. Yeah, sigh. If only we could talk to Dong Jun and Yang Ming, ask them clearly about their purpose and conditions, and see how they would let us go. Dr. Benjamin had long lost his initial confidence and arrogance. A few months ago, he thought that it would be easy for him to kill Dong Jun. Dong Jun actually helped Yang Ming to deal with Elder Yu and Miao Jiang, which made him very angry. At that time, Dr. Benjamin felt that he had to punish Dong Jun. But now, he had forgotten his initial arrogance and his intention to deal with Dong Jun. The only thing he wanted to do now was to ask Yang Ming and Dong Jun to let him go. It had to be said that the world was very strange. Every dog had its day, and Yang Ming was now the person who decided the fate of Dr. Benjamin and Central. When Yang Ming told Dong Jun about these things, Dong Jun didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Was he happy? Dong Jun sighed. Perhaps without Yang Ming, things would have been different, right? At least, it would definitely not be as easy to solve the problem as it was now. In the following days, Dr. Benjamin was quiet. He seemed to be thinking about a new way to deal with Yang Ming, but he did not take action because he did not show any signs that he wanted to implement the latest plan. Or, he did not have any latest plan at all. He was just preparing silently. However, Yang Ming did not relax at all because Yang Ming was not sure when Dr. Benjamin could come up with a new way and plan. However, even a wise man might make a mistake. Yang Ming was really careless and negligent this time. Because Dr. Benjamin really thought of a good way to catch Yang Ming off guard. Of course, to be exact, this method should be thought of by Yin Siren. Yang Ming thought of this guy's name and gritted his teeth. Evil people, really evil people. He actually used a submarine to transport chemical reagents and drugs. When Yang Ming discovered the situation, Dr. Benjamin had already received the chemicals, chemical reagents, and some research materials. Yang Ming was still a step slower after all because Yang Ming did not observe the situation under the water at all. Chapter 23-26. Yang Ming just stared at the ships and planes coming and going, but he did not expect that Dr. Benjamin and Yin Siren actually made a submarine. This really made Yang Ming a little speechless. It seemed that Dr. Benjamin and Ian Siren were really powerful. They could actually think of this way to successfully bypass Yang Ming's detection. I was careless. Yang Ming smiled bitterly and told Dong Jun about the submarine. It seems that we have to monitor the submarines coming and going in the nearby sea area in the future. No one is perfect. Since Dr. Benjamin could think of this method, it is normal for us to overlook it. Dong Jun was stunned after listening, then said, however, this batch of chemicals, reagents, and materials is estimated to be enough for Dr. Benjamin to study for a long time. Their people will not come out again for a while. Yeah, the plan failed. Yang Ming nodded and said, it seems that we should also study countermeasures. What should we do next? We can't just wait like this. Are you talking about the submarine? Dong Jun asked, for things like submarines, as long as you can determine its specific location on the seabed, you can also blow it up with weapons such as torpedoes. If you can determine the enemy through the sea, then we can also kill the submarine by flying low on the sea with helicopters. I'm not talking about this. Yang Ming waved his hand and said, now that the chemicals and reagents have been transported, it is estimated that their people will not come in and out of the central base for a while. We have to deal with the central base and Dr. Benjamin. We can't wait for them. We should take the initiative to attack, directly deal with the central base. After Dong Jun heard this, he looked at Yang Ming with some surprise. In his opinion, it was very refreshing to wait for the rabbit to come out and deal with the people in the central base. However, he did not expect that Yang Ming would take the initiative to attack the central base. Yes, but according to my observation, although the central base is on Fire Wolf Island, the base is under the island. Even if we drop some bombs, it shouldn't have any effect on the base under the sea. Yang Ming frowned and said, after all, the center's defensive measures are very good. Normal bombs shouldn't have any effect, and missiles shouldn't be able to penetrate too deep. But if we use nuclear weapons, we don't have the ability to do that. Ah. You've wanted to attack the central base for a long time. When Dong Jun heard Yang Ming's words, he was surprised. He didn't expect Yang Ming to have already investigated the defensive measures of the central base. Moreover, he had already started to research a plan to deal with the central base. That's right. How long will it take for us to kill off the people from the central one by one? Yang Ming nodded and said, the easiest way is to destroy the entire central base and let all of them die. This is the way to do it once and for all. That's true, but it's too difficult. Dong Jun thought about it and said, according to what you said, normal conventional weapons are useless against the central base, but we can't use nuclear weapons. So, we can only use other ways. When I saw the submarines today, I thought about it. Can we organize some submarines to attack under the sea? But as soon as this idea came out, I rejected it. Yang Ming said, if our submarines get close to the central's detection range, it is estimated that before we can launch an attack on the central base, we will be discovered by the people in the central base first. They will directly counterattack and kill us, just like how we killed the people in the central base. That's true. Dong Jun nodded. According to what you said, our helicopters or ships can't get close. Once they get close, they will be discovered and killed by Dr. Benjamin first. So, it's difficult. Yang Ming sighed. Even if there are weapons that can blow up the central base, we can't launch them. After all, the technological power of the central base cannot be underestimated. The key is that we still don't know what other secret weapons the central base has besides the Steel Man. Dong Jun thought about it and asked. According to them, there should be a kind of biohuman, but it is said that there are some flaws. The biohuman that is manufactured in batches is not easy to control, and it doesn't seem to have high attack power. Yang Ming said, however, Dr. Benjamin urgently needs to purchase these chemicals and chemical reagents, which means that he wants to develop a new type of biohuman. He didn't say what it is specifically, so I don't know for the time being. As for his other trump cards, there are a lot of electronic equipment in his warehouse and laboratory, but I don't understand it and don't know what it's for. So that's the case. It seems that because of this negligence, Dr. Benjamin has a chance. Dong Jun said, "What should we do next? Let's take it one step at a time. Don't let other submarines enter Dr. Benjamin's central base. Prepare weapons that can destroy submarines on the sea. Then, I will continue to observe Dr. Benjamin's movements and see if I can figure out what he is going to do next." Yang Ming sighed. Sometimes, a missed opportunity is a missed opportunity. Whether it was negligence or not, it was a bad move. Dr. Benjamin could be considered to have won a round for the time being. Okay. Dong Jun nodded. At this moment, he was doing things according to Yang Ming's instructions. However, something that surprised and depressed Yang Ming suddenly happened. That night, Dr. Benjamin began his new biohuman experiment, but Yang Ming found that Dr. Benjamin entered a laboratory that his X-ray vision could not see. Yang Ming clearly saw that Dr. Benjamin entered a room, but what shocked Yang Ming was that this room seemed to have a precision instrument to prevent peeping and exploration, so Yang Ming could not continue to use his X-ray vision. In other words, after Yang Ming's vision reached that room, it was blocked. Yang Ming could see a space that covered an area of about 300 square meters, but this space was black and had nothing. This space existed under the central base of Fire Wolf Island. No matter which angle Yang Ming looked at it, whether it was a long view, X-ray vision, or a 360-degree view, he could not see the situation inside. Previously, Yang Ming only roughly scanned the overall situation in the central base with his X-ray vision. Because Yang Ming's main target was Dr. Benjamin, and the instruments, experimental facilities, chemical reagents, and drugs in the center were not understood by Yang Ming at all, so Yang Ming did not continue to observe carefully. But now, this situation gave Yang Ming a big fright. Chapter 23-27. Since Yang Ming obtained this pair of magical contact lenses, he was almost myopic, farsighted, X-ray, and circumferential. Even the thick walls couldn't block Yang Ming's vision. Wherever his vision went, everything was open. But this time, Yang Ming found that his special ability was malfunctioning, and it was a partial malfunction. It was useful in other places, but it couldn't be used in Dr. Benjamin's laboratory. In other words, as long as Dr. Benjamin entered the laboratory, then Yang Ming couldn't observe his every move. He didn't know what he did, who he contacted, and what new plans he had. This situation made Yang Ming a little depressed. Of course, he didn't think that his special ability was malfunctioning, but there was something special about Dr. Benjamin's laboratory. Thinking of this, Yang Ming subconsciously contacted Grandpa's son in his mind and asked, "Grandpa's son, why can't my glasses see through the laboratory in Dr. Benjamin's central base?" Dr. Sun Sikong could monitor the information sent by Yang Ming's glasses at any time. It was the same when he was in Miaojiang. Grandpa's son told him that he could use this method to contact, so Yang Ming tried it at this time. He didn't know if he could still establish contact. After a while, Yang Ming's mind remembered Grandpa's son's voice. "Yang Ming, what's the matter? What trouble did you encounter?" "Grandpa's son, this is the case." As Yang Ming said this, he told Sun Sikong what happened during this time. In the end, he told him about the puzzling scene that happened before. "I see." After Grandpa's son listened, he hesitated for a while, and then said to Yang Ming, "I want to take over control of your eyes now. I want to personally check what you see. Is that okay?" "Of course, no problem." Yang Ming nodded and agreed readily. Yang Ming knew that Sun Sikong could see some things through his glasses, but he had never used them without his permission before. He just wanted to check the use of his glasses. Okay, then I will take a look now. After Sun Sikong finished speaking, Yang Ming suddenly had a very strange feeling. It was as if he was being peeped and monitored. This came from the assassin's intuition and sixth sense. It was a very strange feeling. Yang Ming also understood that Sun Sikong probably took over the scene in front of him, so he had this feeling. Yang Ming, you go to Dr. Benjamin's central base now. I will check the situation over there, said Sun Sikong. Okay. Yang Ming responded. After he finished speaking, he began to look at the central base again. After Yang Ming saw the laboratory, Yang Ming couldn't look anymore. Like the previous situation, Yang Ming saw a piece of darkness, but as long as he jumped over this area, he could still see the situation in other places. Oh. Yang Ming, according to my preliminary judgment, Dr. Benjamin applied a new type of metal around his laboratory. This metal is an unknown substance. When I developed this pair of glasses, I didn't consider this situation. The glasses can only see through some known elements, so the glasses can't penetrate this metal. Sun Sikong roughly judged the situation in front of him. So, what you see is darkness. Ah. Then this metal can't be seen through. Yang Ming was a little disappointed. Dr. Benjamin is on guard, but fortunately, he didn't apply this metal to the entire central base. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to see anything. Hee, this won't happen. I guess when he built this laboratory, he wasn't afraid of you peeping because Dr. Benjamin didn't know about your glasses. He couldn't have built this laboratory in advance because of you. Grandpa's son said, according to my estimation, the main reason why he built this laboratory may be that some of the things he studied may have radiation. He used this new metal to isolate the radiation and also the signal of your glasses, so you can't see the situation inside. So that's the case. Yang Ming nodded, but he was relieved. Dr. Benjamin should have hit the jackpot. If he knew this situation and built the periphery of the central base with this metal, then Yang Ming would really be helpless. Moreover, this metal is a new type of metal. It should be very difficult to produce and very rare. Dr. Benjamin can't get so much metal to surround the entire center. You don't have to worry, said Sun Sikong. That's good. Thank you, Grandpa's son, said Yang Ming. You're welcome. Right, in the next few days, I will write a program to perform a remote firmware upgrade on your glasses. After the upgrade, the glasses can analyze the composition of the metal used by Dr. Benjamin in real time. Then I will write a firmware so that the glasses can penetrate this metal, said Grandpa Sunday. Ugh. I can also upgrade the firmware remotely. Yang Ming was shocked. He didn't expect his glasses to be so advanced. They could actually achieve new functions by upgrading the firmware. Isn't this too amazing? Of course. Grandpa's son laughed. At the beginning, your glasses only had the function of long-range vision. But later on, I gave you several firmware upgrades, and realized the functions of X-ray vision, 360-degree vision, disguise, and so on. As for the mind-reading ability, it's not particularly perfect. It can only be activated under certain circumstances. As for the danger prediction ability, it's just a test function. It's even more imperfect. It can only be activated when you're really in danger of dying. However, this function may affect your real judgment, so I turned it off at a later stage. Ah. Yang Ming was suddenly stunned. He always thought that the functions of the glasses were originally there. The reason why he didn't discover them all was that he hadn't used all the functions of the glasses yet. But what he didn't expect was that the original function of his glasses was actually only the basic function of telescopic vision. This was similar to the function of ordinary glasses, to see things in the distance clearly. As for the later functions, Yang Ming thought that he had found them, but this was not the case. It was the function that Grandpa's son Sikong developed after upgrading it. Yang Ming, you don't think that this function of the glasses was there before, right? Grandpa's son Sikong laughed. Chapter 23-28. Sweat, I really thought that these functions were available before the glasses. I just didn't discover them all at once. Yang Ming said with some shame. Of course not. When I first gave it to you, although this pair of glasses could be used for myopia, telescopic vision, X-ray vision, and night vision, I didn't activate the last 3 functions for you at the beginning. I also wanted to test your character. Grandpa's son said, previously, you fought off those little gangsters for me. I just wanted to thank you and compensate you with a pair of glasses. This pair of glasses only had a preliminary function, but then I found that you were a good person. Moreover, you had a relationship with the little girl Suya, so I slowly activated the functions of the glasses for you, so that's the case. Yang Ming smiled bitterly. I thought my special ability would be upgraded. Now it seems that it can indeed be upgraded, but Grandpa's son helped me upgrade it. These things are actually not important. I told you at this time. In fact, it was just a coincidence that I mentioned it. If you didn't ask, I didn't need to tell you these things because they are not important. Grandpa's son said, as for the new function of this pair of glasses, I have to study it for some time. It is impossible to have a result in 1 or 2 days. You have to be patient. It's okay. It's good as long as there is hope. Yang Ming originally thought that there was no way, but he didn't expect there to be a turn of events. Grandpa's son actually said that this pair of glasses could be upgraded. It really made Yang Ming feel a sense of surprise. And, that's good. Grandpa's son nodded. Right, Grandpa's son, what are you busy with now? Are you still on Earth? Are Lu Yezi and Yi okay? Yang Ming remembered the time in Miaojiang and sighed. Although the real time was not long, Yang Ming had a feeling that it was a lifetime ago. When he thought about it, he would miss it very much. That was a difficult period, but happy and unforgettable time. The few of them worked together and finally defeated a super enemy like Elder Yu. However, it was precisely because of Elder Yu's tempering that Yang Ming matured and grew up, and he had the super modified version of Jin Ganggu, which made him so powerful now. Even if he faced the ancient sect, Central, and Dr. Benjamin, he had no fear. Yi Zi and Yi are both doing well. They are resting in West Star Mountain Village. Grandpa's son said, Mo Kongwen and I will stay in the Medicine Valley for the time being. The environment here is very good. I'm going to transform it and give it to Yi and Yi's child to practice martial arts from a young age. Oh, that place is indeed not bad. The scenery is clear and there is no one to disturb you. Yang Ming nodded. Hopefully, after I'm done here, we can meet before you return to the outer space. It should be about the same. Grandpa's son said, Yang Ming, if you have any problems, you can contact me at any time. I'm really sorry. Originally, I should be the one to deal with Dr. Benjamin. The person he should be targeting should also be me. You and Suya's glasses were actually implicated by me, Grandpa's son, please don't say that. I dealt with Dr. Benjamin because of Dong Jun, myself, and my family. Yang Ming said, if Dr. Benjamin is not eliminated, there will be endless trouble in the future. I am grateful for the glasses you gave me. If it weren't for this pair of glasses, I wouldn't be able to get to where I am today and have everything I have now. Yang Ming said very sincerely, because this was also the true portrayal of Yang Ming's heart. If Yang Ming didn't get this pair of glasses, then Yang Ming would be in a different situation now. He and Chen Mengyan probably wouldn't be together in the end, and he probably wouldn't meet Suya again. Even if they met, with Su Haikua's character, he might not let him be with Suya. Of course, more importantly, Yang Ming didn't have the status he had today. His family couldn't have the happy life they had now. Zhao Ying, Lin Jiyun, Wang Xiaoyan, Jing Xiaolu, Zhou Jiajia, Wang Lele, Xiao Qing, Sun Jia, Victoria, Lan Ling, Xia Shui, Lu Huamei, and these beautiful girls couldn't enter his life one by one. The current Ming-Yang group couldn't be established. All of this could be said to be thanks to Grandpa's son, so Yang Ming was very grateful. As for Grandpa's son saying that Dr. Benjamin was his enemy, Yang Ming didn't agree completely. This was because he was also Yang Ming's enemy. This had nothing to do with Grandpa's son. This was like someone giving a lot of money, but because of this, you were targeted by bad people who wanted to rob your money. You couldn't blame the person who gave you the money. That would be somewhat unappreciative. Therefore, it was impossible for Yang Ming to blame Grandpa's son for his feud with Dr. Benjamin. Even if there was no hatred between Suya and himself with Dr. Benjamin, Yang Ming would still fight with Dr. Benjamin because Yang Ming was a person who valued friendship and kept his promises. Yang Ming, this is also the reason why I gave you the glasses without worry. Grandpa's son said with a smile, okay, let's not talk about it. I will work overtime recently to settle your matter and try to upgrade the firmware of your glasses as soon as possible. Okay, thank you, Grandpa's son, said Yang Ming. After Yang Ming finished talking with Grandpa's son, he breathed a sigh of relief. The problem could always be solved, but during the time that Dr. Benjamin was in the laboratory, Yang Ming was somewhat helpless. In the evening, Dong Jun came back. He had gotten some weapons that could attack submarines at sea, depth charges and torpedoes. Although Old Buffon could also get these things, it was more troublesome for Old Buffon to transport them over. It would take a certain amount of time. Dong Jun, on the other hand, got a lot of them in just one day from an armory that nobody knew where he got them from. I got the weapons that are hung on the armed helicopters and dropped from the ships. When we find the target, we can take action directly, said Dong Jun. Okay, but there is a bad thing that I want to tell you. Yang Ming said with a bitter smile. Oh. What is it? Dong Jun was stunned. Dr. Benjamin's laboratory is probably separated by a special metal. I can't see the situation inside. As Yang Ming said, he told Dong Jun about today's trouble in detail. In the end, he shrugged. So, during this time, we can only pay close attention to Dr. Benjamin's movements. Dong Jun was stunned. He didn't expect such a problem. Chapter 23-29. This made him a little surprised. All along, Yang Ming had completely suppressed the center in Dr. Benjamin, but he did not expect such a problem to occur. That, won't it affect our plan? Dong Jun asked hesitantly. It shouldn't. Yang Ming shook his head and said, but we may have a little trouble recently. It is best to fly the armed helicopter around the sea area near the center day and night because we don't know when Dr. Benjamin will send people over, and we don't know Dr. Benjamin's next plan, so we have to work harder to be on the safe side. It's okay to work harder. Dong Jun hesitated and said, but we can't fly in the air 24 hours a day, right? Let's not talk about the time to refuel. Just you alone, you can't monitor the center every day without sleeping, right? Although we can work 12-hour shifts, I don't have your ability, right? Occasionally, there are fish that slip through the net, but it is also a helpless act. Yang Ming said with a wry smile, in this way, we can only ensure that we can monitor Dr. Benjamin's ships at the center base to the maximum. We have no other choice, it seems that this is the only way. Dong Jun nodded helplessly. After all, it was too easy before. It could be said that whenever Dr. Benjamin came out, Young Ming and Dong Jun would go and kill one person. Dr. Benjamin had no temper at all. But now these good days were over. Dr. Benjamin ran into the laboratory by chance. Young Ming could not monitor his every move. He could only rely on this stupid method of patrolling in the air. After discovering the enemy, he could react immediately. So, in the next few days, Young Ming and Dong Jun began a life of flying at sea. The helicopter hovered back and forth in the sky, but they did not dare to get too close to the center. After all, Dr. Benjamin was not a vegetarian. If they were too close and were discovered by his equipment, they would be shot down directly with weapons. Young Ming would probably be fine, but Dong Jun would be dead. Young Ming slept very little every day. He only slept for about 6 hours. Moreover, he slept separately, sleeping once every 3 hours. This was also to ensure that there was no possibility of a fish escaping the net. After all, no matter if it was a helicopter, a submarine, or a speedboat, they would not be able to travel too far in an hour. Young Ming woke up after an hour of sleep. Even if he missed the speedboat, submarine, or plane coming out of the center, he could still catch up with them. However, during this period of time, it was peaceful. No one came out of the central base, and no ships, submarines, or planes visited the central base. In the past half a month, Young Ming and Dong Jun had done almost nothing. Flying on the sea was boring, but they did not gain anything. Fortunately, both of them were very patient people. Although this kind of life was very boring, Young Ming and Dong Jun could still endure it. Finally, on the 20th day, there was a situation at the central base. A submarine quietly set off from the central base, and on the submarine sat a man with a very sinister expression. Beside him were 2 expressionless young people with dull eyes. It was unknown what kind of combination these 3 people were, but except for the sinister man occasionally moving, the other 3 people did not move at all. Intuitively, Young Ming felt that these 3 people were not good people. Although Young Ming wanted to wait for them to come ashore to capture them and interrogate them, Young Ming hesitated and did not do so in the end. Instead, he let Dong Jun pilot the helicopter and wait above the sea according to the route of the submarine. The direction of this submarine should be the port of a private club near the beach of Las Vegas. It was probably a place where the people of the central base operated. Only this kind of private club port could dock a submarine. Otherwise, it would be very scary if it was seen in an ordinary port. Young Ming decided to kill these 3 people directly. The sinister man was easy to deal with, but the 2 people with dull eyes beside him, Young Ming could not see any problem with them. However, the biggest problem was that there was no problem. According to Dr. Benjamin's character, it was impossible to send 2 idiots. These 2 people must have some unknown secret. If Young Ming guessed correctly, these 2 people were probably the new biohumans that Dr. Benjamin had newly transformed. And the controller of these biohumans was the sinister man. Young Ming did not know the strength of these 2 biohumans, and whether they were powerful or not, so Young Ming decided that it was better to bury them in the sea directly. Young Ming's guess was right. These 2 people were indeed the latest biohumans that Dr. Benjamin had created. The essential difference between this kind of biohuman and the steel man was that biohumans were not made of steel, but their attack power was very strong, and their resistance to attacks was also very strong. Although this kind of biohuman was made of flesh and blood and could be injured, it was very difficult to kill them. This was because they had become a state similar to zombies. Even if their hearts were destroyed, as long as their heads were still there, they could still attack through the bacteria in their bodies. Only when their heads exploded would their lives be ended. However, Dr. Benjamin had made 2 helmets for the 2 cyborgs. These helmets were made of the latest high-strength metal, which was even harder than the steel man's body. This kind of high-strength metal helmet could not be penetrated even by armor-piercing bullets. From a certain point of view, this kind of biohuman was like a cockroach that could not be killed. Therefore, the only way to kill these two biohumans was to break their bodies and separate their bodies from their heads. However, this was quite difficult. Not to mention that after the biohumans were injured, the blood that flowed out would contain a lot of bacteria. As long as these bacteria came into contact with the attacker's body, the attacker would also be infected with these biochemical bacteria. Then, the attacker's brain would be corroded, and he would become a biohuman. The biohuman that was turned into a biohuman would not have any intelligence or autonomy. In other words, as long as Yang Ming was infected, he would die. He would become a biohuman without any consciousness. In order to control this biohuman, he had to rely on the hypnotist, the sinister man. He could give orders to the biohuman, but he could not remotely control the biohuman. Therefore, he had to go personally. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.